Hello, hello. How's everybody? Find something. Happy Father's Day. Can you guys hear me well? Something I want to talk about today. Can y'all hear me well? Can I get a mic check? Can I get a mic check? It's funny. I drink my coffee out of mason jars. As my grandfather did. He had a big impact on my life. Everybody's doing good this morning. We want to talk about a few things. Happy Father's Day to the fathers. Happy Father's Day to the mothers who have to be fathers because the fathers don't want to be around. And if you're a father who doesn't want to be around, I encourage you to consider your actions. If you're a mother who doesn't want the father around, I ask you to consider your actions as well. I want to talk about a few things today. Everything fatherhood. Most of y'all know my father. He's on the plane, whatever the other side of this thing is. But I appreciate the things that he did for me and the person he made me into. I appreciate being a father because actually it's my kids that actually also formed me into who I am. Like I say a lot, they actually raised me more than I raised them, I think. And not about the bird in my friend's bathroom. I'm not gonna talk about that. It's a real story. I'm not joking. My friend, he left his bathroom screen open, and I don't know, he's not too bright, this friend of mine. He left the screen open on his bathroom. He's real busy trying to save the world. And I guess for about 2 or 3 weeks, didn't realize that the screen was out in the window, left the window open to let fresh air in, let the dust out. That's what you do. Old wisdom, you don't want to breathe the indoor air. And a bird flew in and made a nest in his linen, on his linen closet in the bathroom. So it made a nice little nest in some sheets. And it's my friend. It's my friend's house. My friend did that. And it's the funniest thing. It's not funny. It's kind of funny, but not funny. The bird is there. The mother bird's got this little routine where somebody walks in the bathroom at my friend's house. And the bird fly. I think it can hear someone either getting close to the door, jiggling the door to open the door. You open the door and you can hear the bird fly out. At least I thought that's what it was doing. I thought that's what it did this morning. Sometimes it flies out, it knows you're coming. Other times it stays in the bathroom. But this morning, I thought it was gone. I was going to take a picture of it so I could share. I climbed up there to take a picture down in that nest. Oh my goodness. That pterodactyl flew out of there. It's like a little 4-inch pterodactyl. That thing came out to attack me. Attack my friend. It was crazy. It's crazy. Hurt his back, threw the phone in the air, ran out the bathroom screaming like a little girl. But anyway, not going to talk about that. We're going to figure that out. We're going to figure that out. That led me to a whole lot of thoughts. I have to think through what I'm thinking about. Like there's a book called Who Moved My Cheese, if you guys remember that. It was an old corporate America book. They handed it around. They always have these things that they come up with. It was a book that kind of talked about people who complain about their circumstances as opposed to changing their circumstances. And I think, why would the bird fly in his bathroom and make a nest? This dummy. Somebody moved his trees. I was thinking somebody should write a book called Who Moved My Trees? This old story about a species that infects the planet cancerously and destroys all the habitat, puts houses and concrete jungles everywhere. The animals have nowhere to go, and then complains when the animals move in their houses. Complains when the foxes run through their yard. Complain when the rabbits eat their vegetables. Complains when there are too many deers running out in the street. Somebody should write a book called Who Moved My Trees? A book of a species destroying a planet but complaining about the other species who lived here first. It's another whole topic. Oh, another whole topic. This whole immigration, migration thing. The animals were here first. We're all immigrants. Every last one of us. There's nobody that's indigenous. We use this word a lot, but there's nobody that's indigenous. We circumnavigated this planet and we pushed out the actual users of the land, which were all the different species, and then we began to kill each other and take the land from each other. So to me, this migration is not even a discussion or topic. We're all some immigrants everywhere we go. We just got to learn to live together, live together in peace, which is what I want to talk about today. Parenthood, fatherhood, right? So I drink my coffee from a mason jar sometimes when I can, because my grandfather did. He's an old cat. Old cat lived down in El Dorado, Arkansas, way down in the jungle deep, and reused everything. Very wise man. Very wise man. So wise he had a street that was named after him. He bought up a lot of land. He built a lot of rental houses. He let very poor people stay in his rental houses. Wealthy of the time, a man considered to be wealthy of that time, but of course very impoverished by standards, by normal standards, average standards. But for a African American in Arkansas, he was well to do, and so. But a lot of things he said that kind of still stick with me. Like anytime we would go anywhere, Grandpa would pick up a penny. And it was just the weirdest thing to watch a man just bend over. Like, that's what kids do. They pick up pennies. But he always picked up pennies because he said that if you count your pennies, the dollars add up. He wasn't wasteful. You know, he could walk around in expensive suits. He didn't. He walked around in overalls, right? But he drank out of mason jars, and he saved his coffee cans and planted his plants in coffee cans. He had a garden. And those things kind of stuck with me, you know, fatherhood, grandfatherhood, all the same thing. The importance of giving kids good, wise practices, sustainability handed down so that they would know what's sustainable. So if we ever land in a time where ignorance is predominant and popular, that you would know better. He used to send us in his garden. He would pay us pennies and nickels for taking certain types of bugs off of his plants. And of course, it was a ridiculous amount of money to pay kids back then, but he did it. We'd have jars, but he did it because he wanted to introduce us to the natural world. You know, he knew that he wanted his grandkids to be more natural than city-fied, right? Because the mom married this city cat. It wasn't a city cat. He lived close to the city in Fort Washington, Maryland, and moved us out there. And so anytime we spent time in Arkansas, he would get us out in the farm. He would get us out in the garden. He would, get us doing natural things. He'd take us fishing. Back then, I got these nice spinning poles now. We used to have bamboo. We'd go out there but back then they had spinning rods, but I'm sorry, I just saw something distracted me. He'd always use bamboo, so we get these big 7-foot bamboo rods, throw them on top of the pickup truck. He'd take us way down into the swamps in Arkansas to go fishing. Hit every bump on the way. We were kids sitting in the back of the pickup truck, jumping, hitting bumps, having fun. But those things, they stuck with me, right? They stuck with me. He was a very, very religious man, extremely religious. Had his Bible everywhere he went. He had the little pocket Bible, the little Bible that would sit in the front of the overalls. Had a little pocket on the front of the overalls. Um, and then, of course, he met my father, and he had an impact on him because of his religious belief. Like people wonder why do I post about Jesus a lot for Christ or religion? Why do you believe in that stuff? There's good in everything. While I believe that religions are co-opted, like everything's co-opted, and they use it for control, every movement that starts positive ends up, a control mechanism, right? And so whatever powers that be that run whatever, whether it's your world, your community, your county, your country, when they realize that they can control people to get them to do something, they'll co-opt it. So religion's been co-opted, but the good foundations of Christianity formed who I am. The reason I understand the value of two parents and family, the reason I understand what love is, the reason I understand there's no reason or excuse ever on this planet to murder somebody, that none of those things have anything to do with Christ, is because of that foundation I have that's based in being Christ-like, not Christian. Very two different things, right? One's a religion and one is mimicking what Christ did. And so the reason I don't judge people who are transgender or people who are Jewish or people who are Muslim or people who are atheists is because they're all my brethren. I'm not supposed to. That's what Christ did. It's not what Christians do. It's what Christ did. So there's a big, big difference. There's a big difference between modern Christians and Christ. And so if I say anything that ever is resounding with you, or if it's good or makes sense, it's not because I have any other background than a Christ-like family that gave me those values. So while you may hate Christianity, you may hate Christ and hate Jesus or whatever, you feel that he doesn't exist or never did or whatever, that's your own personal perspective. But if there's anything decent in me, that's where it came from. I actually consider that. But he handed down that faith to my father for the most part. My father, he followed, but he really didn't follow. But that really got him into it. He became a deacon and high up in the church, he was Bible thumping. That dude was a Bible thumper. But he loved people. He got the basic concepts right. Now I think he got lost because I don't think that the Bible is holy. I think that it has a very solid foundation in love and natural laws and things. But there's also, like I said, everything's always co-opted. Man always changes things to fit his benefit. Kings like King James comes along and they try to take something and control people with it. Um, but thinking about Father's Day, it's being a father and it's having a good father is what made me who I am. My kids and what it's like to serve somebody. It's important to have somebody to serve in life. There's something I think evolutionary about us that we are supposed to serve people. We're not supposed to serve ourselves in life. Like, um, I'm single and I could have went off and just lived my life if I wanted. But I knew better, but I didn't know better. I was taught better by a faith and a father and a grandfather that showed me the benefit of having a father in my life. The role that we're supposed to play, the example we're supposed to set. And they set phenomenal examples. Phenomenal. I have a story to tell you. Um, I once ran away from home. I don't know if I told you this. I ran away from home. I wasn't the smartest kid. I wasn't the brightest. If you kids, if y'all ever want to run away from home, don't do it in winter time. Don't pick like a nice warm time to run away from home. Or if you live in a tropical country, make sure you got a strategy, plan, do your homework. You know, I don't know. I was upset with. He was roughly he was an authoritarian. He was a rough father. He was a great father. He was a rough father. Before the military industrial complex and the pharmaceutical industry killed him, but that's another part of the story. Um, I was mad. I'm running away from home. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I think I was 13 or something. And and then my father was like, "Well, go on." And when you run away, take what belongs to you. But no, I'm not going to do that to you. I'm gonna let you have the clothes on your back. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna let you have my clothes, which are the clothes on your back, and you go ahead and run away from home. Go on, run. I said, I'm serious. I'm gonna run away. And my mother was like, "No, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't tell him to run away." And uh, he said, "No, he can run away, but he's gonna take the clothes on his back." I said, "Fine." I walked out the house. Went down to my favorite little fishing spot, little bush. Crawled up under the bush. Was happy. Just I'm running away. I'm free. I'm free. I'm gonna live my life. That lasted all of about 3 hours till it got cold. Oh man, when it got cold, that was it. It's like, man, this isn't what I thought it would be. Of course, I ran back home and crawled on the roof and crawled into my room, and I knew how to break in the house and crawled under my bed because I wanted to save face to know that I didn't come. I didn't want him to know I came home right away. I'm not sure I thought it out. Maybe I thought I would go to sleep under the bed and get up in the morning and leave again in the morning before he got up. But he always knew what to say. Like he was wise. But I think that's what the previous generations were. They were wiser than what we were. They listened to the elders. They listened to their parents and their grandparents, and they knew to pass those things down. It doesn't seem that we know how to do that so much. It would seem that to a degree we're outsourcing parenting to smartphones and computers and to television, to news and teachers and leaders. I don't like that word, leaders. I don't know why we even use it. Like none of these people in government lead me. I make that clear with my kids because I want them to know the truth and to follow in that. None of these people lead me. None of these people speak for anything that I value. None of these people speak for anything that my father valued, not per se. None of these people speak for anything my grandfather valued. So these people aren't my leaders. Now, mind you, they are presidents, they are congressmen, they are people that I give them a certain degree of respect because the people around me in my country, my brothers and sisters, voted and put them in office. And so I do carry a certain amount of respect for those people because I respect the people who voted for them, not because I respect them. Not at all. Um, how did I get started in all of this? I got started in all of this with children's rights. I was married very young, too young. Um, and we kind of went different ways in life, right? And divorce comes about, right? And of course, divorces are what they are. Things are emotional. People do things they're not supposed to. They say things they're not supposed to. Things get out of hand, and you do what others, unwise people, tell you to do, which is go to the court system to determine child custody. And I'm gonna give you this recommendation from deep down in my heart. If you go through a divorce or you're getting a divorce, your children are your property. Don't ever be stupid enough to go to a court system to determine their freedom. That's how I got involved as being an activist. went to the court system, and the lawyers begin to play us against each other, right? Because in America, we have what's called a family court system. They're broken down at the state and the county level, and they make money dividing parents up and taking their net worth. They used to do that with houses and cars and the things that they owned, because it's emotional time. You say stupid things, you do stupid things, and they thrive on that. They thrive on that division, no different than they thrive on the division of Democrats and Republicans and left and right and dividing up Native Americans. I mean, it's the same division strategy. Divide and conquer is old as anything. It's one of the greatest profitable schemes that's ever come about. The family court systems, and I'll be fair and I'll say that it's not every, right? You have good lawyers, you do. It's hard to believe, but you do have some good lawyers, and you do actually have some good judges. But it's a system that's not based on the interest of children. It never has been, and it probably never will be. No different than how I tell you that the conservatives and the Christians have tossed out everything Christ believed in and everything Christ taught for the most part nowadays. We tossed it out, right? And that Bible thing that I tell you, it's not holy, but it's a Bible. It actually does say that if you have, somebody can put the exact scripture, it's been a little while, but it does say that if you have a problem with your brother, that you're supposed to take it to the church, not to the courts, not to Caesar. And you're supposed to render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and unto God what is God's. And you can replace God with Mother Nature. I'm good with that, however you want to think about it. Evolutionary practices, natural law, it all still fits. Children are not the property of government. Now, through means of consent and other things that we're studying, perhaps they are on paper, but I'm speaking in terms of what's wise to do. No child should ever be told by a stranger, whether they're in a robe with a wig or not, when they can see mommy and when they can see daddy. And that actually is what got me started as an activist. This is going back, I guess, 20 or so years. A lot of my friends are children's rights activists. Once my ex-wife and I realized that the lawyers were playing us against each other, we compared notes that they were kind of changing and shifting what we were saying, and they made it obvious that we were fighting. We started questioning, is it smart to actually go to the government to tell our children who they belong to and on what days? And then something intervened. I don't believe in karma. I don't believe in coincidence. I think that things happen intentionally. The day that we went to the hearing to decide child custody, our judge couldn't make it, or either was filled up, I don't remember, but a criminal court judge replaced the judge that day. And I think that was instrumental. I think that was orchestrated, because in my country, criminal court judges all day long, they see little boys come in, and now little girls, unfortunately, and they know what happens to them when they don't have parents. They know what happens to them when their parents are fighting over them. They're wise enough to understand how broken houses, broken families actually feeds into the prison system. And I don't remember his name, but I appreciate him to no ends. He played a role in carving me who I am too. He basically said, after he heard the arguments, he said, of the lawyers, he said, look, I don't remember all the details. I know that, did I have a lawyer? I don't think I had a lawyer. I didn't have a lawyer. I was dealing with her lawyer, who was just this bear. Oh, she was a bear. She was this little, short, mean, hangry. I don't know what hangry means, but I like hangry. But H, angry. Hangry lawyer from New York came down here to take my kids from me. But that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go get a bad lawyer, make sure you get good custody. And I was going back and forth with this lady and she was saying, oh, he's a bad guy and he's a mean person, he's a bad father, and all of this stuff she was saying. It was making me emotional. She was doing it intentionally to make me emotional because that's her job. Her job is to take children from the other parent and get paid to do it. Because we have a sick system that's designed that way. We'll get into why later. So what the judge realized it, and the judge said, okay, look, here's a deal. And just told the lawyer to be quiet. I want you guys to go out, speaking to me and my ex-wife, go out in the hallway. And I want you to figure this out. I want you to come back in and tell me where your kids are going to be on what days. And I'm going to sign it. If you come back in, I'm going to give you 15 minutes. You come back in and you haven't figured it out like adults where you want your kids to be, I will tell you what it's going to be. You're not, neither one of you is going to like it. I appreciate that man to no ends. Appreciate that man to no ends. Because that's what we needed to hear. We went out in the hallway. No, but he said a few instrumental things too, right? When he said that, he said, you guys used to love each other, right? Yes, we did. You guys have these kids together, and I can see that you both love your kids, don't you? Yes, we do. Put all that aside. Understand that you got 18 years to raise these babies into something significant. You decided you don't want to be together. It doesn't work. Put all that emotion away and just think about what's best for your kids from it. Let me send this out. Man, that was it. Like that did it. Like what he said right there did it. We decided, based on her work schedule and my schedule, you have them this day, I have them this day. We both love them. I want them to be in your life. You want them to be in my life. Yeah, we got issues. Obviously there's emotion there, but we need to be adults and take our emotion out of it and just think about what these kids need. I think that was probably the day that I really grew up. When you realize that these babies don't belong to governments. These babies don't belong to legislation. They don't belong to laws. They don't belong to profiting systems. They don't belong to the criminal justice system. They don't belong to any of this. And when you look at the statistics for fatherless children and the statistics for motherless children are no better, you understand why the neuroscientists and the behavioral scientists are constantly talking about the effects of the environment and what that effect that has on children. One of the things that really stuck with me in listening to Dr. James Fallon, some of his lectures, he talked about how just a mother not being in a child's life, being removed, can flip warrior genes, can flip those genes that bring about high aggression, low empathy. All those was 27 different genes. I can post it. If you guys don't know who Dr. James Fallon is, you guys absolutely need to follow him or any other neuroscientists who are actually looking at these warriors. A lot of people don't even know that these things are real. A lot of people still question whether or not, that you can do a brain scan and whether frontal lobe damage or these genes being flipped affects the development of the frontal lobe. So just not having a parent affects children. I mean, I'll say it this way. Just not having a parent can make your child a psychopath. Process that just chew on that. Let that marinate. Just taking a kid away from a parent away from a kid can do immense damage. So I just see what Brother Billy posted. And I don't want to go down that road, Billy. Understand that race has no impact on parenting. The socioeconomics has the impact. right? Socioeconomically, people who are raised in poverty, they don't have as much parenting time. So there's no difference in Asian parenting or white parenting or black parenting or Hispanic parenting. Parents who have to work 3 and 4 jobs, parents who can't be home with their kids, those parents are always going to have more trouble with their kids than anything else. So it has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that socioeconomics makes it harder for certain people to parent. But we all sink or swim together. Um, So that's how I got involved. In fact, and it's interesting that the race topic came up, brother. Um, that actually is where, and so you said something else, brother Bill. I want to make sure I say this though. Let me be clear. If you're not proud of whoever you are, you're insane. I was out floating around on the internet. And I ran into a profile, and the profile picture said, "What was it?" There was this scheme that came up not too long ago. Where they put out the pictures and they said, there's nothing wrong. I think it's y'all correct me if I say it, I think it said there's nothing wrong with being white, right? I loved it. I loved it. It was a young lady. Y'all, some of y'all may know who she is. She's still floating around on my profile. I loved it to death. I saw it and I looked at it and I knew exactly what that advertising was designed to do. It was designed to trigger people who think there's something wrong with white skin, right? And it's not just black people, Hispanic people. There's a lot of white people too, in which I don't believe race exists, y'all. I don't. But I have to talk this way, or people don't know what I'm saying. They say silly things that, oh well, the white man did this, or the white man, the white blah, 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 blah. And they effectively take a whole group of people that have a skin color and hate them, put them down, and so anyways, I ran to his profile and it said there's nothing wrong with being white. I think that's what it said. It was a campaign. It was a national campaign, and I loved it. So I befriended her, and I was like, "That's awesome." I said the only thing is, I said, no, it's not, there's nothing wrong with being white. I said, if you're not proud of your ethnicity, if you're not proud of your skin in terms of what solar radiation did to it, if you're not raising proud kids who have pride in exactly who they are, the cultures that made them, then something's wrong with you. Right? No skin color did anything to anybody. Right? You had colonizers who none of us are related to, who took over this whole damn world, and it has nothing to do with skin color. So anyway, I made a friend of her, and it's significant because it was actually when I got involved with children's rights and became an activist that I met my first, and I believe he was a white nationalist. I kind of believe that. I think he probably was. I think he was full fledged. I think he was right down here, right down the street, Valley Forge Park, marching with the flag. Go home, go back to Africa. But it was interesting because we actually came together and we went to various marches together. We went to various protests because he lost his kids. And him losing his kids and me almost losing mine, it brought us together in a way that you wouldn't believe. It brought us together enough that we got to know each other, enough that I got to know how he became who he became and why. I had good parenting between my father and my grandfather. And my mother, don't get me wrong, my grandmother, they all played a role, but his fathers did. So I kind of want to speak about fathers. And, I watched a lot of things happen. Like my father growing up, he was a twin. And his twin actually, I believe, was also killed by the military industrial complex. That's another whole story. He worked on the SR-71s. He was in the Air Force. My father was in the Air Force. He worked on the A-10s. My father worked on some secret projects, and he knows that he was exposed to something that actually gave him lung cancer and killed him. But he wasn't allowed to fly. He was a little kid, grew up playing with airplanes. He wanted to fly. He wanted to be a pilot. Now, of course, at the time he grew up, that wasn't going to happen. Right? It wasn't, we lived in our country, we had too many problems racially, right? And it's not because anybody were bad people. It's because that was the culture of the time. And if you pay attention again to environment and epigenetics, if you are raised to hate people, you will hate them. That's the environment and the culture of the time. We got to get past this blaming people for how they're raised and start thinking about how do we fix this world where we're not raising people to hate each other. It's just how it was. It's like when I went to school in Princess Anne, Maryland. It was a I guess you call it a traditionally black college, and it was in a little town called Princess Anne, little real racist town. And my father used to march down there, and I ran into a lot of very old cats there who probably used to throw bottles and rocks at them too when they were marching. And as opposed to being angry about that, I gave them, knowing that some of those folks were probably the ones who were throwing rocks and bottles and stuff. I wasn't raised to hate, or I wasn't raised to hate people who were raised to hate. I showed the elderly there just as much respect as I show anybody else. Every now and then somebody would call you colored. You don't flip out and get mad and get angry about it. You understand that people were raised to speak that way. People were raised to be, it was a thing of the time. It's taken us a long time in this country to get to a place where we realize we're all being screwed. We're all being screwed. Everybody on the bottom is being screwed. And it was that religion that of turning the other cheek, right? It was that teaching that my grandfather and my father handed down to me that allows me to turn the other cheek easily. It allowed me to get to know this gentleman. And we had the same plights as well. For me, I almost lost my kids. I read the laws and I realized the laws aren't designed for two parenting. The laws aren't designed to keep families together. The laws were designed to make the courts and the lawyers as much money as possible, taking the kids from the parent who has the highest income. Our culture was to teach men that women are supposed to raise kids and men are supposed to go away and make the money. Culturally it made sense back in the day because families stayed together. Now that they don't and divorce is the default probably, fathers need to not let their indoctrination make them think that they're not supposed to be a significant part of their kids' lives. But because the court almost preyed on me and it was preying on him and this man lost his kid, I could care less if he was a white nationalist or Klan or whatever. He was standing up for the right things. And he could tolerate me, I could tolerate him, and out of that we actually became friends. And we got to understand each other a little bit better. This is why I tell people, you got to look at the wise people who came before us. Like, that's the whole parenting point, handing down wiser practices and ways. John Lennon, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, all of these great men, JFK, who showed us that together we can accomplish more than apart. And you heal hate with love. You don't heal hate with hate. When someone passes you hate, you show them love back. And so, not because of anything in me, but because of what they put in me, I was able to get to know this man and relate it to some of the stories, or not stories, but the experience I had with some of my friends who were poor and black, and they grew up and they had it as bad as the people who were poor and black, and that we all had the same life. And connecting those dots. Never hate anybody for how they're raised. Never hate anybody. Like, people who they look at me like, why do you seem like what are people that they'll text me and they'll send me messages anytime Trump says something, he'll say things like, get your boy. I didn't vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Clinton either. I didn't vote for either because honestly, neither one of them were raised how I was raised. Neither one of them are leading I think the world in the way it should go. I don't think either one leads our nation in the way it should go. And I agree with everybody when they said these are two bad choices, and I voted for somebody else. But why do I, why do I, why am I more tolerant? This is something my brother says. He says, Kim, that's what he calls me. He says, why does it seem like you like Trump more than Obama? First of all, Trump is the president. Obama's not. We had 8 years of him ransacking this country. Not because, again, I think he's a bad man, but because I think the office of the presidency is owned by people we'll never meet. We're done with him. It is time to blast him. It's time to completely blast him. A lot of people got fooled into voting for him because he has black skin. A lot of people got fooled into voting for him because he's interracial. A lot of people got fooled into voting for him because they thought that the office of the presidency is run by presidents. Um, Trump is the president. He was raised to hate people. And somehow, his daddy turning over in his grave, whether Trump hates people or not, he doesn't act like it. Not necessarily, right? You think if he was raised and his dad was either a Klan member or very sympathetic with the Klan, somehow Trump comes out on, what was it, Black History Month, which I don't know why this even exists, but it does. I think we should be celebrating everybody's ethnicity and not colors. We should be celebrating them every day. But he came out and he praised the civil rights movement, and he had the little speech that he gave, and he put Benny Carson on his cabinet. If he's allowed to pick his cabinet, I think Banks picked president's cabinets, but that's another story. He he didn't become the man his father wanted him to become. And I don't think the nation gives him enough credit for that. I don't think they do. I don't think that they understand that he could have been a very indoctrinatedly bad person if he followed those routes. And so, but he was raised to be that way. And I'm not into judging anybody because of how they were raised. I think that's crazy. Um, and so anyway, became friends with this guy. And this is what really got me to a place where I try to look past people's environments that raised them, right? Your enemy isn't people who hate you. Your enemy is the environments that they come up in that lead them to hate you. And you only solve that by showing them you don't hate them and you won't fix those environments. And so their kids don't need to grow up in those environments, right? We have a lot of starving kids in the United States. A lot having to do with the family court system. That's just a whole. I could spend all day on that. But that's how I got started as an activist. I got started with the family court system, and it didn't matter what color you were. If you were a man, you were having your kids removed. And so I joined Fathers for Justice. I joined a whole bunch of Fathers and Children's Equality. I was on the board of about 3 or 4 different fathers' rights organizations, and it wasn't just about black kids. It was about all kids. When they lost their fathers, the statistics were the girls were significantly more likely to not only be raped because they somehow seek the approval of men. That all the kids were a large percentage of the prison population. They were significantly more likely to end up in foster care. They were significantly more likely to abuse drugs and alcohol. They were significantly more likely to be abused by men in terms of spousal abuse. And so these broken families they were just a horrible thing. So I got involved in all of that, and it took me a little while reading the laws, and these were Democrat laws, mind you, before I realized that they were actually constructed like the Welfare Reform Act, Title 4D. If you ever read into it, and I don't even know if that's even still in effect. One of my friends can post whether it is. I don't think it is. What it basically said is it allocated $1 for every dollar in child support a state collected. So think about this out. Think about Again, anytime you put money and greed in the mix, it's always going to be abused. You're always going to have some sort of capitalist that thrives on it. Not a fair, equal capitalist, but a crony, greedy capitalist. And so what the federal government did, they basically said we're going to allocate $1 to the state for every dollar in child support they collect. Do the math and figure this out. The states are cash broke. They look at this program and say, so if we take the kids from the parent that has the lowest income and give the kids full time to the parent who has, take the kids from the parent who has the highest income, give them full time, full custody to the parent who has the lowest income, we can generate billions of dollars, hundreds of millions, I say hundreds of millions of dollars just through the family court system alone. And that began this massive approach of taking children from their fathers in the United States. And so I joined the fathers' rights movements and stuff. And after a while, I learned that there was a feminist movement that was fighting the fathers' movement. And I ran into a few women who lost their kids because they had the lower income. And the judges, they already knew it. I mean, it was a scam, it was a scheme. You had some good ones, you had some bad ones. And so mothers were losing their kids. They ended up giving them full time to the father because the father was unemployed or didn't have a job. And child support's calculated based upon the income, right? And that's why you take them from the parent that has the lowest income. You might take them from the parent that has the highest income. And it started to occur to me that this isn't about mothers and fathers and who should raise children. This is about separating kids from their parents to make a lot of money for states. Some states collected in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The federal government, I think, allocated $7 billion for it. I read into the law and I realized that, man, there's nothing more dirty than to take children from, like, you can take a car, you can take a house, you can take anything you want. But when you take the most significant thing to a parent, you take its children, like any species on this planet, that's when it gets volatile. That's when you go ahead and try to take a cub from a grizzly bear. You try to take a baby bird out of his nest. You try to, and so looking into the suicide statistics, parents were killing themselves. They were lighting themselves on fire. They were driving cars with the kids in the back into the river. I mean, they were just doing insane things. And of course, people didn't stop and say, well, why are they doing these insane things? They were just like, oh, that's crazy. We got to get the kids from these parents because they're crazy. And they weren't crazy. They lived in a system that was thriving on taking children from them, and they were flipping out. Call it the warrior gene. I don't know. That stuff can get turned on temporarily. I can't speak to that. And so the movement we were involved in shifted from fathers' rights to family rights. Our numbers swelled. We had lots of non-custodial parents who were fighting just to spend time with their children. Seeing a kid every other weekend it's not acceptable, right? It's not acceptable. That's not parenting. You need to see your kids on a regular basis. And mind you, there are some parents who probably shouldn't be parents. And that's where I always lean back and I say the professionals need to decide these things, not judges, not federal legislation, not any of this nonsense. If you actually have a country full of adults who are dealing with their own problems and they're solving their own problems like adults, they're figuring out custody of their kids, they're deciding that they don't want their kids to be wards of a state, they don't want their kids to be wards of a custody agreement. Like my kids, they're free. They can go anywhere they want to go. They want to go, like they're not here now, it's Father's Day. I don't want to be over there with old dusty dad. He gonna have us out there gardening. I was out there cutting bamboo earlier. We planted some basil, but they're coming later. We're gonna go do some stuff later, but they're free. They're free range children. They can go do anything they want to do because kids are supposed to be free. But these laws are designed on every way to divide and conquer, and that's what they do. So I guess that led me down a couple ways, but that's how I got involved. And I started to realize that the legislation is designed to divide people up and take their children. And then there was the foster care system, right? This Title 4E, which basically said that any any state that took a child from a parent, a abusive parent, the federal government would allocate up to, I think it was $250,000 a year per child, allocated billions of dollars in tax money. And so, of course, Title 4E, child trafficking, that got turned on. So it wasn't just trafficking the children from Title 4D, from mother to father, playing the family, destroying the family, but then they start taking kids who couldn't pay, parents, because the states determine what abuse is, right? Abuse could be you can't pay your water bill, you can't pay your electricity, you don't have that in the house, you live in conditions that they don't like in your house. And I don't see any great evils and nefarious, devil working on this system. I just see a lot of greedy people. I just see that we aren't together as a family, as 7 billion people around this world, working together to make sure the next generation, all ethnicities, have a great chance at becoming something great and providing for the world collective. We fight each other, and because we fight each other, just the way the states and the federal government prey on the people and the family, they're preying on the entire world and dividing everybody up. And so the way Title 4E or Title 4E work is that it let the states determine what abuse was. And so the state could simply say, hey, you know what? We can earn $250,000 for every child we take from a parent. That's what they did. And I don't know if 4E is still in effect or 4D is in effect. That's where we are. We're in. Something's in my earpiece. I didn't crawl in your ears. And, our kids, all ethnicities, all races, suffer from not having parents in their lives. Right? Our world has changed. Families can't stay together. Parents can't stay together. They can't seem to stay married, and so they're fighting all the time. We're raising psychopathic children because the states prey on us, the federal government preys on us, and other nations. We have cultures that still teach that the mother is the parent and the father is the provider. We have the neuroscience that shows that destroys children. This is why we got to level up everywhere we can. This is why we got to stop fighting each other everywhere we can. You want to make the next generation significantly better, then you hand them down decent morals. You hand them down the wisdom of the people who came before us. You love your children more than you love yourself. You love your neighbor's children more than you love yourself. Those were the ways of all of our groups, all of the elders. They all taught that. And this is where I'm a little more progressive than I am conservative, because this crony capitalism model, it doesn't work for the world. The whole world is under the boot of banks. I was spending more time with that. The family is the smallest unit. If the family isn't strong, the community won't be strong. If the community's not strong, the state won't be strong. The state's not strong, the nation won't be strong, right? At the core level, and not from a government perspective, a leader perspective, 1% perspective, but from a people perspective, the 99% of the people who are preyed upon by these divide and conquer systems. Get your divorce. All right, go ahead and get your divorce if you're not happy. It's no thing to me one way or another. Keep your kids out of it. Completely. Keep your kids out of it. You may hate that man. You may hate that woman. They may have done horrible things. But if they love their kids, they love your kids. Don't hurt your kids just to hurt them. Don't take your superiority, your authoritarianism, and destroy your kids and make them psychopaths and make them a statistic because you want to get back to somebody who you don't love anymore. Children need both parents. Some parents need some education. Some parents need to learn how to change diapers. Some parents need a lot. Children do need both. And that I know of. I haven't looked at children's rights in a long time. I think things have gotten better. But who I am who I am because I had good parents. I was raised in a good family. And I'm not going to use my birth privilege, my parental privilege, to beat up on somebody who didn't have that. It's okay for people to hate you. Sometimes people are supposed to hate you because they don't know you. And they were raised that way. It's the environment that they came up in. Stop being played by race. Stop being played by religion. Stop being played by genders. More kids need to have a happy Father's Day. You know what I mean? More kids need to have that. More kids need to look back and have a happy Mother's Day. More kids need to have a daily happy Father's Day. More kids need, and this is one of the places that I got off. Like, I hate to take it back to Obama, but unfortunately, he falls in it because he said some things. When he became president, I didn't vote for him. I saw him slide the way to Banks before he got elected, so I didn't vote for him. I didn't time. But he made that comment, right? It was a Father's Day, and he went on stage and he was giving his Father's Day talk. And he said something that he basically came down on fathers. He came down and came. I guess I don't know if it was black fathers. I don't remember it anymore. I didn't really care at the time. I don't care who you came down on. Instead of being wise enough to say, you know what, we have a cultural problem that we still teach men that they're not supposed to parent. They're just supposed to provide, drink beer, and be gone. And we need to fix that. Instead, he didn't say that. He said, I forgot his exact words. But this was the time, was it Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton? One of them came out and said somebody needs to cut his phallus off. Made mainstream news. That's when I was done with him. That's when I realized that he's not wise. He's not. He doesn't have. He might be wise in other things that I don't know about, but he was an idiot to me at that point because we were busy trying to create a movement to get kids back in their parents' lives, and the president of the United States goes out on stage and attacks fathers instead of attacking the culture that raised them. Like, we know that most men who abuse their wives, their father abused their wives. Like instead of understanding the environment and trying to fix it, it was a shot across the bow against fathering. We just need wise people in government, and we don't have that. And we never have that because we keep voting for people who aren't qualified to lead us. They don't listen to the professionals. They don't listen to the behavioral scientists, the neuroscientists, the family counselors and psychologists. They listen to themselves, and they feed industries so they can write laws, and they hand the children along with us to Wall Street and make a lot of money doing it. That's what I was done with it. Around that time, we had a march, and I was with Fathers for Justice at the time. And Fathers for Justice, what we did is we would dress up in costumes. We would dress up in the kids' superhero costumes. If your kid loved Superman, you dressed up as Superman. If your kid loved Batman, you dressed up as Batman. And we had a march on D.C. And I still remember, I forgot the brother's name. We had a brother who came here from the UK, and another one, because Fathers for Justice was all over the United, all over the world. He climbed on top of the Lincoln Memorial, and so it made mainstream news. We had fathers; they climb on top of the judges' houses. You know, we have a problem in our culture, and we can blame each other for who we are, or we can blame the environment for not understanding that we have a system that preys upon us based on how we're indoctrinated or how we're parented or not parented. You know, Father's Day comes along. You know, I think back to the thoughts of my father. I think about one of my favorite stories. He was getting on the elevator. I think I was 14 at the time, something like that. He was getting on the elevator. I don't know where we were. The guy came on the elevator. My father was like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's a corny dude. He's a corny dude because he had 3 boys and 1 girl, and so he was a corny. Fathers by nature are supposed to be corny. He said, "Good morning, how are you?" I didn't speak back. "Hope you're having a good day." Guy didn't say anything. I was pissed. I was ready to fight. I was angry. I unfortunately in the Washington D.C. area, you were angry when something like that happened. I was ready to fight the guy. I thought my father was going to say something smart, before we got off the elevator. And the guy, his stop was before ours. The guy walked off the elevator. My father said, "Okay, and I hope you have a better day." Something like that. "Hope you have a nice day. Hope you have a nicer day." As a kid, I couldn't. I was like, why in the heck did Pop tell this guy who disrespected him, "Have a nice day"? I wouldn't even speak, didn't give him the respect to even look at him. Because my father knew better. He knew better. He knew that people have crappy lives. People go through a lot of crap. People have bad days. And that's not ever a reason to turn your good day into being a jackass. It's a reason to just step back and say, you know what? We lived in a jacked up society. And we prey on a lot of people that we shouldn't. The laws do. And our lack of attention to them does. The lack of love is nothing but hate. You care about your community because it's a black community. You care about your community because it's the Hispanic community. You care about your community because it's a white community. Your application of love based on little silly concepts like that take from love in another community, which is just hate. The opposite of love is hate. And so whether you don't mean it that way or not doesn't really matter. It means that you're allowing for hate to thrive in another community because you want to take care of this particular community. I don't think that you can love black kids and ignore white kids. I don't, I don't think you can address Hispanic poverty and not apply hate to all the other communities. I don't think you can, you either love kids or you don't. There is no, and of course, mind you, I always backpedal because I'm not the smartest guy on the block, and I try to listen to what the professionals say. There are people who are indoctrinated to believe these things and these concepts. But the way I work, when I see like a little kid laughing or a little kid crying, I don't ever see race. I don't. I see a little kid who's doing what it's raised in the environment that it comes in. And kids are awesome. Every child's beautiful, every one of them. Which is why I'm always, anytime I hear anybody saying stuff about the white man, I jump in. I have no interest in that racism. That is racism. When you talk about the white man, that's racism. Because you have a whole generation of little white kids coming up listening to you spout your racism, right? Imagine if you were a little impoverished white kid growing up somewhere and you heard that the white man did this, the white man, the white man, the white man. Whether you mean well or not doesn't really matter. It's racism, and he's going to take it. How do you think that that's going to end up for that young little boy? He's going to grow to hate you. He's going to grow to hate your race. Why? You fired the first shot. He doesn't know history. He doesn't know that the 1% took over the whole planet and convinced a lot of dumb people that it was white folk and not just the 1% all the time, whether it was Africa or Egypt or Middle East. The 1% has always invaded and took over and confused dumb people to think that it's a race that did it and not the elites. The colonizers, the original colonizers, didn't come from Britain, and vice versa. Yelling and screaming white power and white pride. To me, when I hear white pride, I hear black pride. I think everybody should be proud of their ethnicity, but if you do it in a selective way, it always comes across as racism. Always does. Always. That's how I see it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I see it. I don't view things from a racial perspective. I just always, when I hear something, I ask myself, how would it feel if it came back at me the other way? And if I don't like how it would come back, and I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to support it because we don't want to raise more kids with more hate. We need to raise kids with love. We need to be decent parents. And even if you don't have kids, you want to support the things that bring about more decency in our world, more decency in our society. So anyway, let me go back like the comments. It's Father's Day, so I just wanted to talk about who really turned me into who I am, and the people I give thanks to for who forged this little silly dude. you know, my kids raised me more than I raised them. My grandfather instilled a lot of things, and certainly my father in his impartial way of looking at things. Gave me the abilities to stand as an independent man who doesn't have any fear other than grizzly bears. I don't do grizzlies. And pterodactyls in the bathroom. I don't do pterodactyls in the bathroom either. That's something else. But I really don't care that I have anyone stands like where I stand. I can stand in a crowd full of anybody. If I hear something that's untrue, I'm gonna say it's untrue. If I hear it, I don't need to have a bunch of people allied around me. I was raised to be a strong individual and stand for the right things, no matter where I'm at. And I totally give thanks for having that fathering privilege, the privilege of having three awesome kids. And I'm not going to use that to wage war against somebody who didn't. Does that make sense? Let me go back and look at some comments. I'm thinking, I've had some coffee. I was out working in the garden today. I got a bunch more stuff I gotta do, but got a lot of planting, potting, repotting to do. I was about to see. I don't do that this often at sitting on my deck, so I don't really have a setup catered to looking at comments. Let me see if I can do this and see if I made anybody upset today. Hopefully I did. That's not my goal. My goal was to kind of explain to people, kids need parents. And now that we have science, we really need to focus on what the scientists are saying about what we're doing to children, having various governmental systems and laws and people that prey on them and their families. Barb said, I grew up white. What did he say? I am white. I grew up being beaten up and called names by blacks. I had racism as a kid. The leader of them was white. Funky it was. I still bear the scars 60 years old. You know what, Barb? And you have a story that needs to be told. I tell everybody, tell your story. You got to tell your story because if you don't, then we won't know. Barb, my experience was growing up. I grew up in a very, very wealthy area, Chocolate City, outskirts of Washington, D.C. And again, because of my father, who always taught us to stand up for the little guy, always be there for the little guy. I went to school and we had a few, very few, very few white kids, very few Hispanic kids, very few Asian kids, and it tended to be them that was picked on. And so that's who I befriended a lot. And I can't tell you how many fights I got in standing up for them. And so stories like that have to be told because people, race means nothing. If you are a minority in an area, you're going to be picked on. You're going to be treated a certain way. And, in that school growing up, and, that it was like the people like this word white privilege, none of that. And if you were a little white kid, you better hope that you have a lot of black friends who, kids would be kids. Kids, and it's not that the kids even meant it in a racist way. Kids are just stupid. I love kids. They're real smart and intelligent, but kids do dumb things. And they say dumb things. And they'll pick on the fat kid. They'll pick on the kid with the red hair. They'll pick on the kid with the afro. They'll pick on the kid with the bald head. And kids do dumb things. And as parents, we're supposed to be smart enough to help build an environment where those things don't happen. And we don't do that because we don't tell those stories. And so if you don't tell your story, and people don't really realize that everybody's gone through a lot of the same things, that, you know, race doesn't mean anything. You know, you either had a bad experience or you had a good experience, and the different things that happen to you throughout your life. Um, and so it's important. A lot of people say things, Barb, like there's no such thing as reverse racism, and I agree. There's no racism. There's just racism, or there's not. People either treat you a certain way because of your skin color, or they don't. It's just stupid. It's stupid as treating someone a different way because of their hair or anything else. Martin Luther King taught those things, that you don't judge a person by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Um, and too many people don't believe that. They'll post pictures of Martin Luther King all day, they're blue in the face. They don't believe anything that he said because it doesn't fit with the, whatever angry thing they have going on at the moment. I'm sorry to hear that, sister. It's a story that has to be told. We always got to tell our stories, because that's how we get better, is when we hear those stories and we can empathize with everybody and how they were treated everywhere. Um, Deb said, I always encourage my exes and children to spend time with each other and never discourage any family from seeing each other at all, especially since my own father abandoned our family. It's a long time. I can't see down all the way to the bottom, and that's why I think that we have to view things from those perspectives of what's best for kids, and what's best for kids is obviously both parents and both parents to be involved. We got to break this idea that it's okay to be a father and walk away from a family. We need to encourage those men, not slap those men around, not put them in prison, for child support. We need to evolve the next generation and try to teach men about the damage it does when they're not involved. Everybody has friends who has kids, and they're not as involved in their lives as they should be. And I think that, like, that's the sign of maturity. I think that's a sign of a maturing society, where parents are becoming more and more involved in their kids' lives, not less and less, and not blaming the parents, but understanding the environments, trusting in, you know, uh, the professionals who tell us why we do those things we do, not hating someone because they're not hating them, but hating their environment. So that's what I do. I do the same thing, Deborah. I try to encourage people: be a parent, be around. Have fun with your kids, laugh, play with them, do things, take them out. Don't just let them play on the computer and stuff. Like my boys and I try to take them walking in the park. We'll go down, we'll go walking, we'll go hiking. We have a thing we're looking to get bikes to go do some more bike riding. Like, we have to. You always want to level up the next generation. You don't want to level down the next generation. That's part of why I do this. I come on this silly little thing and I talk into this box and my eyes are swelling and hurting, because we want to upgrade the next generation to be smarter than us. We don't want to downgrade it. And what scares me is I feel that we're downgrading our society, because growing up, things weren't this bad. Growing up, we didn't have, this racial tension. Growing up, I mean, there were issues, but it just didn't seem this bad. It seems like we're de-evolving, and it expands, and it's exponential, and it exponentially gets worse. That's why I think you got to laugh at everything. I blame the comedians for that, though. I think the comedians, but I guess something I'll say on that, Deborah, too, and this is why I ran to the defense of Claudia and Debbie when they went through what they did, because I didn't have a choice. I was raised, um, I was raised that way. And when you start throwing around words like, I don't know how this became a race thing, but when you start throwing around words like white privilege and white supremacy, then you better not be supreme in your own ways. You better not have privilege in your own ways, because then that's when somebody's supposed to call you out as a hypocrite. And I've seen black privilege, I've seen black supremacy way, same way around. So we have to be honest, and that's the only time that people trust you, is when you're honest. And that's the only way we break the divide and conquer systems that prey on all of us, is that you stand up for people because it's the right thing to do, not because they're your race or they're your color or you're scared. And so, and that's how I got involved. I got an email. I got an, it was an email or message, and someone said, that, can you say something because they're under attack by I forgot what groups it was anymore. And there was one person that was pretty prominent who I respected, and I lost a lot of respect for that person when I heard them use the word white supremacy. We can't fall into these divide and conquer narratives. If someone starts a phrase with a race, a skin color, whatever they say next is always racist. Always. Doesn't matter whether they mean it well or they want to fix things or they're trying to educate people. It doesn't matter. It's racist. And I don't think that anyone in any prominent leadership positions should be creating or using those words. I think wisdom is in unity. Wisdom is in letting everybody speak. And what I saw is there's this growing push to silence people who sometimes, in certain places, have white skin because they're not allowed to speak up for anybody that has black skin. And that's just as racist to me as a Ku Klux Klan march. That's just as racist to me as a Black Panther, Black Power push. You don't ever want to. And if you are someone who's being handed this white guilt thing, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Walk away from it. You can't have any guilt for who you are. You have to be proud of yourself. If you have Irish background, if you have African background, if you have a Middle Eastern background, whatever soup of ethnicity that made you, you need to be proud of that 100%, 1,000%. But also celebrate and be proud of who everybody else is too. So don't buy into the guilt. We need strong people. We don't need weak people who get pushed into a corner who can't speak. And I think that's kind of why they came under attack, because there are groups that say, oh, well, only black people can stand up for black people. Only black people can stand up for impoverished people. Only Hispanic people stand. Only white people stand up for black people. You need to be wise and smart enough to understand our ancestors were smarter than that. You need to be wise and smart enough to stand up for those kids and don't trust, because the people who are in leadership who are those colors turn their back on those kids all the damn time. That's why you're very powerful white politicians turn their back on the poor white communities. That's why your very powerful black politicians turn their backs on poor black community. They don't give a damn, right? Psychopaths come in every single color, shape, size, and ethnicity. And once they know that they have your trust, they can make you a fool and they can destroy your communities. So if you want to speak up for people, you always speak up for people. And Debbie and Claudia always spoke up for the poor. And they never did selective speaking up. So there's no way in hell I'm going to sit back and let my friends you know, uh, get attacked by people who are playing race games, by racism. And I'm gonna be nice. I'll be nice. By people who are trying to play the race card. We got to grow up. We got to get past this, y'all. It's just solar energy. Solar energy made you look a certain way. And it's only 7 genes that regulate your skin color. It's stupid. Besides, one of my big things is the prison system, right? We have a lot of poor, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, all colored children in prisons that should not be. Who did nothing wrong from a constitutional Bill of Rights perspective, who shouldn't even be in prison. We need to stage an emancipation and get these people, these peaceful kids, out of these prison cells. You know how long that's going to take if you are dividing yourselves up on colors that wealthy 1% landowners and slave masters, the color categories that they put you in. You know how long it's going to take to do that? You know how long it's going to take to fix the police state and get them to stop shooting all colored kids? The majority were white. I keep saying it. I keep saying it. Gotta have your facts. Gotta have your facts. Police shoot white kids more than they shoot black kids. Not by percentage, but simply by number. And it's an important fact to know. The sooner people can come together on bigger issues, the sooner we can fix the problems with our country and thus the world. But we have to be mature. We have to be wise with that. We got to stop letting people play us against each other. That's why I say Happy Fatherless Day. That's what we used to say. It's Happy Fatherless Day because too many fathers aren't around, and it's not the father that you need to attack, and it's not the mother that you need to attack, but it's the system that teaches people and is still raising kids with this idea that it's okay not to have parents around. Quit calling the police; they're gonna kill you. Alan, always got something funny. Yeah, and that's another thing, Alan, which is why I don't know why people call the police. And again, I'm not against the police. I'm against people not being mature and adults. Solve your own problems. Why do you always have to call the police for every daggone thing? You know, when you need a man with a gun or a woman with a gun, that's when you call the police. If you've got a brain in your head and they have a brain in their head and y'all can negotiate and talk and solve a problem, go solve that problem. You know, of course you're going to keep having problems with the police because the police aren't allowed to dictate their job. They're not allowed to dictate their environment. The politicians that you love did that. The politicians that you got yard signs and bumper stickers, they're the ones who created the environment that send police into trailer parks with their guns blazing, right? And the ghettos with their guns blazing because they're human beings. And just like in the Vietnam War, that my father was a veteran of, after a while, when a people of a certain look are shooting at you and they got guns and you got a little baby girl at home, you make a decision that you're gonna go home. It's either you or it's them. It's always gonna be them. And so now the police state has got so sick to the point where they're just shooting people who don't even have guns, right? But that's the way this goes. It's going to continue to escalate. It's not going to get any better. It's going to continue to escalate. They're going to keep building prisons. So May Obama did the same way Trump is doing. And keep destroying policing. You know, my stance on that has always been the same stance with the Department of Education and everything else. Ellen, you've heard me say it 1,000 times is if you say police are professionals, then let them be professionals. Let them do their job. They don't need 1,000 laws that tell them how to do their job. You say you want, teachers to stop indoctrinating kids. We don't need a Department of Education. All we need, and this is one thing that I believe with. I believe that the current administration seemed like they were trying to do for a minute anyway. Is the Department of Education? All they need to do is provide money. They don't need to provide telling teachers how to teach. Every time you have a single point of failure, it's always used to control people. The police aren't the problem. They're not actually policing. Policing is broken. You have a federal government that tells them what to do. And that federal government has told them to take people's natural and constitutional rights. And so that's what the police are doing because that's what the banks and the politicians do. And so it's the environment, once again, that's the problem. Policing was broken intentionally. But we, as a collective, keep calling the police instead of solving our own problems like adults, instead of learning how to negotiate. It's the craziest thing to me, Alan, because people complain about war. Like you want to be anti-war, but you're pro-war in your neighborhood. Right? Instead of going to talk to your neighbor, you're calling the police. Instead of negotiating with them, you're getting the township and the association and your state government to force them to have chickens, right? These dumb ideas that people come up with instead of talking with, hey brother, can you maybe have like 2 roosters? Can you do something, so the rooster's not as loud, but you're destroying our country and thus our world because you're feeding into this divide and conquer by hiring people, politicians who all work for banks to divide people further, take our rights, and destroy our environments. Checking in for Iowa off-grid. Respect to all the fathers. Hey, Linda, welcome and thank you for living off-grid, Linda. Thank you. Thank you for being definitely smarter than I am in that way. I am not off-grid. People need to be off-grid. People need to stop feeding into these systems. Um, but you know, but that applies to Father's Day, Parent Day too, because it's just Parenting Day. That's all it is. You have a lot of mothers who are playing the role of fathers too. You have a lot of stepfathers playing the role of fathers. You have a lot of cousins and brothers playing the role of fathers too. We have a sick culture that you know, it doesn't treasure that. But it's about stepping up too. Like, you know, why don't more people live off grid? Why? And when I say off grid, I'm not just talking electricity and water. I'm saying government, big police. Because what Ellen just said, not calling the police and solving your own problems. That's off gridding the police state, right? You know, the less you call, the less there is a need, the less people get hurt. Um, the less problems we have, the less these laws can do the damage. We need to off-grid everything. We need to solve our problems. So, because that's what off-gridding is, right, sister? Is it, Linda? You solved your problems with water. You solved your problems with being on infrastructure for food, perhaps. You know, we need to feed into these systems less, and that's when we can start imparting more wisdom back in all of this. Is when we go back to being strong, independent people. That's who's strong, right? You're strong when you can take care as a parent of your family without government. That's who we always were. That's who we always came from. We didn't need these big governments. We didn't need all this infrastructure. We knew how to take care of each other. But it's easier to be a dependent, right? Like I like to talk about the millennials a lot. How the millennials, oh, they keep coming home. They're big babies. They don't want to take care of themselves. They don't want to go out and lead their lives. What are we doing, right? They what? Why do kids come back home? Because it's easier to be a dependent. It is. It's easier for them to depend on their parents, just like it's easier for their parents to depend on their government instead of depending on themselves. Independent people are strong people, and to me, that's a part of Father's Day. I think as fathers and parents, mothers, you should make commitments to being less dependent on your government. That's the only way we can start to get any sort of freedom back, to being more self-sufficient, like Linda's talking about. So I appreciate you, Linda. Thank you so much for being off grid. You're definitely helping to solve problems in our country just by being off grid. I off grid, my off gridding, Linda, to a degree, mostly is food. I grow a lot of food, and I have a lot of fruiting trees. Like you can't see it, you can see what's behind me. You can't see what's in front of me. I got tons of basil. I've got my broccoli, and I've got avocado trees. I've got citrus trees. I got a tree actually right here. I got to post a picture of it. I don't even know what it is. About 3 years ago, I started looking at the fruiting trees around the world that have the highest sugar content. And so I planted all these seeds, and these trees started coming up. And it's not, I don't live in a tropical place. I'm in Pennsylvania. It's cold, so I can bring them in and bring it out. But finally, one of these is doing real good. I'm not the most organized guy, so I didn't label it too well. I have to post a picture of one of my friends in another country. Like, I don't know, it might be Longdon fruit. I don't think it's rambutan. I don't know what it is. I have to post a picture, and maybe one of my friends in the South will know what it is. So that's my contribution. That's my off-gridding, is as much as possible. I want to grow as much of my own food as I can. I mean, just simple things like growing basil. You know, you don't have to have a lot of land. Basil plant doesn't require a lot of land. Grow your basil. I made I made a basil omelet the other day. I was propagating basil, so I had a whole bunch of basil leaves, and I threw them in my eggs, and I made a nice, delicious sandwich. It was amazing, fresh basil. You know, but simple things like that. So I'm not buying basil in a shaker. You know, and that's $3.95, but it's something. You know, I don't judge people for what they're offering or how. Just as much as you can, go back to being a parent. Go back to being more independent. Go back to being more strong. My parents depend on me as much as I depend on them. That's the way it should be. Yes, Crystal. And we broke that, didn't we, Crystal? We broke parenting. You know, we broke the family when we grew up, got a job, and moved out of town. That's what kids do now. They grow up, they get these jobs, they get on an airplane, they go work in a foreign city or another city. We used to grow up, get an education, and build a house on mom and dad's property. And we still had to raise kids. We raised kids around their uncles and their aunts and their cousins and in that culture, and we broke that. Now our kids at 18 leave and they go to college and they get a job, and at 22 they're off in a foreign city and being exposed to other ideas, and a lot of times it's the TV that's raising them and the news. Like, raising a kid never stops. You raise a kid your entire life, it never stops. And so we broke that. More often we need to have the land. Probably more often than not, we need to fix that by going back, by having the land to let the kids build a house on the property, get a job local. Imagine if we all owned land enough for our kids to have tiny houses on the property. I'll go back to doing that. And that's why I believe in 40 acres in a 40 acres in a tractor. I believe in not a slavery thing, but a birth thing. Like, I believe in reparations of everybody. The landowners and the slavers and the robber barons and the bankers who destroyed our country and thus our world, they did so by taking our land because we weren't smart enough when we moved to the cities to keep the land and sold that land. I believe that every child that's born in any country they should get 40 acres and a tractor. I think it's your birthright. I think when you give a kid land, and we go back to like growing some of our own food and being strong and independent is just the culture, it's just what we do. You have less kids that are whiny like their parents. You have less kids that are dependent on their government and whiny. I need water, I need food, I need electricity. I'm gonna cry if I can't charge my cell phone. You know, I think we got to change the culture of the kids who are raised up and raise them, go back to raising them to be strong. I think that's good fathering. I think that's good mothering, is raising strong kids. It takes a village to raise a child, Crystal just said. Yes, it does, Crystal. It takes a village of multi-religious, multi-racial, multi-ethnic, multi-nation people to raise a child. All the children on this planet are our children, and we need to love them all equally. We need to make sure that we're deploying governments that will take care and look out for all of them equally. But we broke it. Anything breaking the codependency on existing systems is helpful to our community building. Parenting is a special challenge without sincere supportive community. It is. Parenting is a special challenge, but it's that base level. And anything that takes away our codependency on people who don't mimic the cultures handed down to us, the strength and the wisdom, we have to separate from. We have to separate from. Because all they're doing is they're deploying legislation and laws that are making us more dependent on them. The more dependent on them we are, the less we actually can stand up for ourselves or each other, or our neighbors. And that's how the United States was lost. And that's why the United States is bombing your country. That's why the United States is invading your country. That's why the United States, and it's not the United States, I mean, it's a 1%, United States corporation. Which is an interesting thing, looking into the banks and how the billionaires, the Rothschilds, actually bought the United States of America, and now that they own it through the banks, it's a debt-based system that we actually can't get out of. We have to be stronger. It takes a world to raise a child. It absolutely does, Alan. Barb says, it's okay, I don't like cities. I find a lot of behavior in the Buffalo, New York area. I find a lot of that behavior in the Buffalo, New York area. The further I get out of the city, the nicer people could become. And that's true, Barb. It's true. I don't know why, but it is true. I think it's just a rat race, Barb. I think there's something about the rat race that makes people angry. Something about the rat race that takes away some of their concern for their fellow man and woman. There's something about the rat race when people are busy and they're running and they're dependent and they've got taxes coming down on them, they got a job, they got the boss yelling, They live in a concrete jungle. They don't have any grass and plants and things that make us feel like natural humans. They don't have the minute to stop and breathe. They're just stressed all the time. And I think stressful people are really dangerous people. I think stressful people aren't really nice people. It's like New York. Like New York has a culture. New York has a very uptight, stressed culture where, it's if you aren't aggressive socially, you get nowhere. Like the people just didn't, service. If you're not, if you're nice to people, you don't get anywhere. You have to be more aggressive. And in the country, you don't have that. And so I'm kind of like that, Barb. Every time I move, I move further and further to the country. I'm kind of out there now. I want to go a little bit further. Eventually, my goal is to be off grid. My goal is to actually be certainly in a warmer place, a tropical place, but to show my kids through example that I'm not in support of slavery, modern slavery. I'm not in support of the wars. I'm not in support of all of these sick systems. I'm not in support of destroying the Constitution. I'm not in support of any of it. And the only way to do that is to take the action, is to start off grid as much as you can. It's like the Syria war is ending. It looks that way, Ellen, but I don't know that they're giving up. They're determined to put a Rothschild bank in Syria. I don't believe for a minute that it's ending. I think that this battle is over, but banks don't give up. Banks, and they don't have a choice to give up. Like, it's the goal to roll out debt-based societies all over this world, so you get a forced debt labor a society, right? Like, that's how the banks live. They have to expand. They have to bring other nations into this plan of forced labor. And the only way they do that is by taking in the countries that are already on a Rothschild banking system. And so I think that's the goal there. So I don't think it's over. I just think they're waiting on the next scheme to get people to agree that they need to go invade. I don't know. They'll come up with something. They'll say, baby Jesus is in Syria. They'll come up with something stupid, but I don't believe that the war in Syria is over at all. And plus, they want to raise another generation of terrorists. Right? They want to kill their parents. And of course, how do you cultivate and manufacture terrorism? Is you kill people's families. You're bombing weddings, which is what the last administration did, which is what this one is doing. Sadly, they don't even know how to stop running anymore, even when given the opportunity. Sharon. I'm not sure what we're saying there. I'm just saying you guys are having a conversation. I'm trying to see as many comments as I can. When you're in the city, you lose your individualism. That's right, Mary. Isn't that right? Because that's what a city really is. A city is, it's bringing people together in this collective, right? A collective small group where independence isn't even possible, right? I mean, a human being needs a certain amount of land to live and grow its food on anyway to be independent and strong and make you highly dependent. And you lose your individualism. Individualism's good though. Like I talk about, we need to be a collective. I don't know why my nose is itchy. We need to be a collective, but we need to live as a collective. But we also need to bring our individualism with us. Right? We need to bring our experiences. Like Sister Barb was talking about earlier, we need to bring forward our experiences and share them with the collective so we can support good things collectively that allows people to have their independence and their individualism and cheer it and not turn on it because we don't understand it or we weren't raised in that environment. When you're in the city, you already got that one. Syrian war is over when a pipeline should go. They never seem to give up those. No, Sharon, they can't and they don't. They can't and they don't. Like it's not only against the SEC, right, in terms of profit generation, the oil companies and the military industrial complex, and like they have to keep pushing profit. They have to keep pushing it. and war is how they bring their profits. So war is not an option. So they, and this is again why I get on the Christian thing, is they have to force people, they got to trick people into believing murdering other people to bring them into our debt-based system is good. And the easiest way to do that is people who don't read the Bible. It's people who don't understand their religion, people who don't actually trust in the things these spiritual creatures said. Religion is a great tool for doing that. And so they'll come up with some little silly reason, call them groups conservatives, anything to get people together and to take away their individualism. Right? Because it's not just cities that rob your individualism; it's political parties. It's this tribalism, this need to feel a part of a group. It's something really freeing about not having to be a part of a group. It'll bless you. It'll just bless you to be yourself, to say what you feel is right, and not feel that you have to be allied to some sort of a tribe. But speaking of people running on the economic treadmill, many many won't get off even when they can. It feels like norm to them. Oh, okay, right, Sharon. Well, and that's what it is, because that's how the debt-based slavery system is designed. Because, like, I was watching a good video by, I forgot the brother. I posted it yesterday. He was explaining like human farming, debt farming, and how it works. But he had a concept, and I posted the other day, and we started discussing it. That when human beings discovered fear, they became controllable, right? And I think I might have said it the wrong way. It was something like when we discovered fear, hate. When we discovered fear, evil was born. Something to that effect. And what I was saying is, it's fear. So animals, you can't scare them into working for you. You can't fear them into not being able to pay their mortgage. You can't make them make their children follow this debt-based system and get a job and go to college and buy a bunch of stuff that's built on slave labor. You can't force an animal to do that. But when you develop currency and you trick the human being into giving up its individualism, giving up its independence, giving up its self-sufficiency, you control its survival. It has the fear, it needs its water, it needs electricity, it needs a car, it needs these smartphones, it needs all of this crap. And it will embrace that debt forced labor system because it's scared. It's scared. It doesn't know what else to do. And most people, and I think is what you're saying, Sister Sharon, is that most people are so lost and fearful of what life is like without that. And they're just running and they don't know how to stop. They're running on that treadmill and they're not going to back down from it. Which is why it's important that people do what Linda's doing in terms of off-gridding. It's important that people who can leave and show others it's not that bad. It's not hard. It's not even that expensive. Now you need a plan. Like I met this couple the other day who lived off grid and they had to come back on grid. You need to have a plan. You need to plan it out to, your finances, whether it's health insurance, some sort of a little way to generate money. You're still going to have to do that. Get your solar panels, get your charge controllers, get all of those things that can break down. Make sure you have a little bit of money trickling in. Make sure that you're not paying a lot in taxes, things like that. Make a plan. That's a part of being a strong parent. That's a part of being a strong family. We planned things out. We looked at the winter. We grew enough food to make sure we could get through the winter. We canned enough. We were always a planning and a critical thinking species, and we gave that up. And that's why I think people are so scared to walk away from it. It's because to them that's normal, and so they keep running with it. They don't know how because no one's shown them how, and that's why we need to show them how. We need to grow those plants. We need to off-grid. We need to show them you can still have Wi-Fi. You can still be connected to your family. You're not, homesteading is only hard if you want it to be. We have technology where homesteading is easy now. The hardest thing, and Linda, you can chime in, whether you agree or not. The hardest thing about homesteading, I mean, the hardest thing about living off grid is food. Right? If you can get your food down packed, you're good to go. Food and probably paying your taxes. As long as you have your food, you're paying your taxes and maybe even health care because we don't have a healthcare system in our country. We have a for-profit disease care system that's ridiculously expensive. And I think the people that I know who off-grid, they come back when they fail, when somebody's health fails. Like I met this couple when I was down in Belize who's coming back to Arkansas, mind you. They're from Arkansas. They're coming back to Arkansas and they lived down there for, I'm going to say it was 15 years. They raised their kids. They had a beautiful farm, walked around their farm. All they had, the chickens and the goats, and they had every kind of fruit tree imaginable. And they were just super sustainable off grid. I think the husband actually made, they had their business lined up. He made aluminum stoves, and he was selling aluminum stoves to the community. So you got to have something to contribute. So it brought in a small amount of money, but they had to come back because she had a problem with her eyes, and so they're coming back to the States. And so I think that's the only thing that makes off-gridding hard is sometimes you get health conditions, and most of the people I know who backed out had to back out for reasons like that. Um, I, I would have done better. I would have done better not having a father. Barb said that, and that is true. And so on Father's Day too, I'll hit that. There are some parents who shouldn't be parents. There's some people who shouldn't have children, and you do have to protect kids from those people. There are some people who do have that warrior gene active, and they have the psychopathic thing where they only think about themselves, and you don't want your kid, obviously, to be in a shared custody environment, and you have a parent who goes in the grocery store and leaves them in a hot car and it's 80 degrees outside. You could end up regretting life. So it's a hard thing. It is a hard thing because a simple decision like that in a few seconds can change the entire rest of your life. So as a parent, you do have to figure out who you do, if it really is a wise thing to make sure you shelter your kids from that other parent. But if it's because they cheated on you, if it's because, I don't know, they don't cook so well, you're pissed off at them. I mean, kids are great control, and again, it's how I got involved in all of this. Um, is being a parent and understanding the value of parenting kids' lives. You have to make those decisions on your own. In my experience, a lot of parents who shouldn't be parents, they don't even want to be parents half the time. But then you want to encourage the ones who should be too. You want to make sure that you try to, if they're not involved in your kids' lives, that you bring them back involved in your kids' lives, but you do that in a safe way too. But we don't teach parenting in school. Like one of the things I think that parenting classes should be in every school. We don't teach parenting anymore, and now that we do have a lot of good information on things to do and not do as a parent, we need to help the kids to understand that. But that is the sick little society we live in. But we don't get to make these decisions in law because we're all divided up fighting each other over bad things. Um, Ellen saying, yeah, I live stream every morning, Ellen. You're telling somebody. Although I didn't yesterday. My eyes hurt. My eyes hurt. This thing is killing me. I don't know why. Whether it's the screen or the lights I use sometimes, I got to make some shifts. I got to do some studies and look up the types of lights that hurt your eyes. I didn't look yesterday. I was posting, and I probably wasn't responding to a lot of stuff I was posting. I couldn't look at the phone. It actually, my eyes would twitter. My eyes would twitch when I looked at the screen. So I had to have a break. But it was good. I had a lot of work to do around the house, a lot of work to do in the yard, a lot of basil I had to propagate, and so I did that yesterday. But yeah, I live stream every morning and try to talk about things that are important. Mainly because I think I have a perspective that's not that popular because I did have a decent father, and we were raised in a decent community, and I had a decent grandfather and a good mother and a good grandmother. I came from a good family, so I try to share that. Um, I got 7 grandkids. Moms will not let us see them. Most don't know who I am. Now, Barb, that's another, that is a sick reality, is that, and that's what we talked about. We talked about the child custody in our particular country. And y'all need to be careful if you're not even in America, because a lot of these laws that get rolled out in America, they get rolled out other places too, because they're profitable, right? Like in the UK, every time when we used to do protests, we had people, brothers from the UK who would come protest with us, and some of the guys here would go protest there because the system's designed to make money, and your government wants to make money. And so if there's a system in America, a law that's making a lot of money, then of course they're going to roll it out to the next country, because all of these governments work together to share ideas. And so one of the things we used to say, Barb, is that when you take a child from a father, you're not taking the child from the father. You're taking the child from the other half of their family, the grandparents, the uncles, the cousins, the just everybody. And kids need more love in their lives. They don't need less, they need more. You don't ever want to take love out of the kids' lives. Like my kids, oh my gosh, these little loving bastards. Oh man, I love them to death. I call them all kind of names. I have fun with them. I probably get in trouble with child protection. I gave them numbers once. It was fun. I called him Frick, Frack, and Mo. I said, nah, you know what? You guys, y'all don't clean your room. I forgot what happened. Frick, Frack, and Mo. I said, yeah, I take your names. You're not even Frick, Frack, and Mo. Then they got in trouble again. I gave them numbers. I said, you're 1, 2, and 3. It's a fun thing. They know their dad loves them. But they're spoiled little kids because their mother and I realized that they need more love in their lives, not less. So oh my gosh, so they have how many? They had 3 sets of grandparents. They have, a stepfather that loves them, that does a phenomenal job with them too. I've had a few girlfriends here and there that did great by them, but the grandparents fought over them. The grandparents would fight over them. Every summer would come, and it was like we had a schedule, and the grandparents would get upset because they're like, no, it's my turn, it's your turn. You had them last year at this time. I had them this. And now I got a garage full of toys where I'm throwing all of this crap away, which is made on slave labor, by the way. That was bad. They spoiled the heck out of them. You want your kids to have more love, not less. And plus, you don't want to parent by yourself. It's too much. You need a break. You want to go out and call Tyrone sometimes. You want to go out, live your life too. And so you need those grandparents that'll take them. You need a break. Have it a reason. My friends didn't know me, didn't know my brothers and I in the summertime because our parents got sick of us. Our parents were like, listen, these 3 boys are too much. Them fighting, tripping each other up. And, we used to have tricks, and we, do pranks on each other and put cups of water above the door and leave the door halfway open so somebody walked through the door to fall on your brother's head, but every now and then fall on your mama's head. So our parents like, oh, heck no. Summertime came, they'd send us to Arkansas, and we'd spend the whole summer in Arkansas running around on the farm, kicking dust. And it was good for us, but parents need a break. Yeah, the kids are a great weapon. Yes, they are. You can get back at your ex. You can do some amazing damage to your ex and make them cry. You might even luck up and get them to commit suicide by taking the kids from them. But I suspect when you get further down the road and you grow up and you mature, you'll realize, yeah, you got back at your ex-husband, got back at your ex-wife, but you damaged your kids for a lifetime. And not just taking that guy who drank a little too much, went to a little too many rodeos, went to the after party after work and drank a little too much and flirted with the secretary, whatever it was. And you took a little stupid thing that they did and you gave your kids a lifetime complex because you took, I don't know, how many adults are in a family, 20 other people who love them out of their family. And even if they weren't involved, you prevented 20 other people from being involved in loving and spoiling your kids, which makes them, well, spoiling ain't good, but There's no such thing as too much love. You want more love in your kid's life. That's what I think a good parent is. So I'm sorry if again, I'm never, I don't want to offend anybody. I'm just making a point that these are basic, common core values that every ethnicity and culture has always had, every species had, even microbiology, hands down to the next generation better. One of the reasons I like to grow plants is they're the most interesting thing on the planet. I think plants are aliens, by the way. Um, Generationally, they hand down instructions and DNA code that helps the next generation grow better in that soil, in that light, in that care, in that moisture, etc. And so we got to be as smart as plants. We have to be as smart as things that we think are dumb and hand down to the next generation a stronger family. You know, like think of it like this: like if you're sitting back here gritting your teeth and you're looking at me thinking I don't know what I'm talking about, and you're keeping your kids from the other parent who's well adjusted and okay, has good moms, what if you die? Well, you're gonna die, but what if you get hit by a car? Don't you think your kids would get over and get along a little better if they had another 20 adults in the family on the other side of the family that love them? Like, don't you think they'd be able to deal with the loss of one person they love a lot if they have 100 people in their lives that they have a lot of love for? I think you gotta always want to think about things outside of yourself. That's what I think you want to think. Oh, an alien. Okay, I'll say something real quick. I'll say something. It's Father's Day. I get to say this. My kids, I think I got a text message. They're about to come over. I'm gonna have to get off the room. But on my alien topic, I was loving aliens. Oh, who was it? Was it Crystal? Crystal put me on a ancient aliens thing yesterday. And so I was on a binge. I was kind of watching. But it's funny, I wasn't watching because I can't because my eyes would twitch, but I was listening. And I had to watch this one part. I think I'm on season 5, something like that. The newest season, I think it was episode 2. There's a guy. They're sending balloons up in the upper atmosphere, right? Because they're questioning this whole panspermia idea. Y'all heard of panspermia? I know it's like gender bias. That's just nasty. Panspermia is like, oh my gosh. Don't look up and open your mouth. Aliens just dropping it all in your mouth. Don't, oh, don't swallow. Anyway, bad topic. Bad. I don't go down that road. Panspermia. Men come up with these concepts, y'all. Again, that's why women are the smartest species. That's another whole smarter gender. So anyway, the concept of panspermia is that we came here, we were seeded by aliens based on bacteria that's constantly landing on this planet. It's off the hook, but they're sending up balloons in the upper atmosphere, sterile, and they're coming back down and they're showing that there's bacteria in the upper atmosphere that's dropping down on this planet at all times. All times. That this idea that we need to sterilize things that come from Mars and other places and the moon, it's just stupid because aliens are literally raining down on us all day. Like if I open my mouth, you look up right now, aliens are falling in your mouth. That's just how the universe works. It's amazing. And I don't know how true it was, but there was a sphere, and I think it was a zinc-based sphere that was inorganic, that had organic material on the inside, and it was open and something was spraying out of it, that it was releasing biological information that these spheres are sent out in space and they're always dropping down and they're slowly introducing more evolved bacteria. But I don't know, I'm not going to go down there too far. It was fascinating. It's Father's Day. I talk about spermia on Father's Day. Fathers offer something. Don't be a biological father on that topic, y'all. Don't be a donor. We don't need any donors. But a good brother of mine sent me a message yesterday. Brother Tony. We used to march together. We used to in this children's rights movement. We were talking about single fathers and how we make the point that that's why a lot of us don't get married again. That's why a lot of us get fixed. Why a lot of us tell these young boys, don't have babies. Don't not till you get married. Don't get married in your 20s. You need to get married when you're 30. Get married when you're starting to figure out who you are. Wait to get married till you have a frontal lobe. You don't have a fully functioning frontal lobe till you're 26. Wait. Just wait. In your 30s, you start to figure out who you are. You can still have kids. You can start to figure out who you want to be with. You can start to develop a stable marriage, right? Like the basis of a family is the marriage. If you don't have a stable marriage, you're not going to have a stable family. You don't want to raise kids in an environment where you're fighting all the time. Where you're calling her the B word, she's calling you some other word, the B word, and then have kids later in life. You know, don't have kids with the person that you fall passionately in love with. That's that girl and or that's that guy that you should go, I guess, skiing with and vacation with. Learn the ups and downs about life, and you know, don't bring kids into that passion. That's just passion. That's just wait till later in life. That's what we were kind of talking about. Is that we discourage, you know, people from having kids young. You want to have them late because we do have a predatory family court system that will break you. It's designed to break you. It's designed to divide you up and take the kids. You don't want kids raised in debt slavery, just like you don't want kids raised in child custody slavery. You want free range kids to be able to go where they want when they want. All right, let me go down. I'm up in comments. I'll go hang out with my boys and be family. That's another reason why I love Facebook. I tell you, I see a few of my friends came in. I love Facebook because I can see your families. Family is important. Seeing other people's kids are important. Um, it allows you to relate to them. Um, I was watching a live stream the other day. One of the brothers was fishing. You know, um, seeing the smile on kids' faces, it'll change you. Like, here's an example. Uh-oh, not gonna like this one. Here you go. Not gonna like this one. Nope. I'm telling you, not gonna like this. I'm just telling you ahead of time. If if you if you hate the Ku Klux Klan, don't watch this. You click. If you hate the environments of poverty and scarcity and lack of freedom that create people who join hate groups, you can watch this one. But if you hate them and they're just the demon, not the environments and the governments that create conditions, that don't watch this. Here's a picture on the internet. I don't know who, somebody posted it. It was a little girl in a Ku Klux Klan outfit, and there were black police standing behind her. I don't know if y'all seen that picture. I posted a link if you haven't. A lot of people, they look at that picture and all they see is hate. That's not what I see. Let me see if I can find it. Can I find the picture? Maybe I find it. Because it's hard. I'm trying to explain what it looks like. Kids' faces are everything to me. Like when you see a kid's face, and while in there's, let me see. Let me see if I can find it. I know people that kids are just kids. Oh, here it goes. Here it goes. Here it goes. Look. Here we go. Hold on. Hold on. I'm getting in trouble now. We're gonna get in trouble now. I can get in trouble if I want to. It's Father's Day. Let me get in trouble. Let me show you this picture. Always focus on the environment. Always just want to be smarter. Be smarter than the average bear, people. Kids are just kids. Kids are raised to be a certain way, and they will become what they're raised to be. Don't take your hate and your anger and put it on them because their family was raised in a certain environment and told that you were the enemy and you're not actually the enemy. Let me show you this picture. Not that picture. That's something stupid, but I have to do that. Right here. I think this is it. Look at this little baby. Look at this little baby. Here's the picture right here. I'll make it bigger so you can see it. Hide my big blockhead. Hey, you look at that picture. How do you feel when you see that? How do you feel? Do you look at it and the first thing that comes to your mind is some sort of anger? I remember it was this is what I see when I saw that picture. I see a little baby that doesn't understand. I see a little baby that's being raised how mommy and daddy feel she should be. I feel the same when I look at a picture and if the little kid was being raised by Black Panthers. I think there's a reason why every Black Panther is a Black Panther. I think there's a reason why everybody in the Ku Klux Klan are there. I think they have experiences to them that make it make sense. Most people are intellectual and highly intellectual and capable of critical thought. And they make decisions in their lives based on the data that they are given, the experiences that they have. And you can choose what kind of experience are you going to give that cute little girl? I don't even know how we ended up on this topic. But are you going to give that little girl the experience of yelling and screaming at her and her parents, with signs and angry, maybe throw some bottles and some rocks? Are you going to give her the experience of comedy? Are you going to give her the experience of showing her that you have a lot of love in you? Are you going to give her the experience that you know that issues on both sides of that little debate that they're having, which is why she's in that costume, are false, are extremely one-sided, that a lot of that hate's born in poverty? That's a little girl, she's touching. So this is what I saw. I guess I didn't really see the Klan thing. Like, I don't care about none of that. I don't. I phase right past it. I see a little girl that's just looks cute as heck and is touching the shield of a man in the police state. I probably shouldn't have that shield, right? That's what I see. I don't even see like all of the racism stuff that's so. I think that you become attuned to what you watch most. You become accustomed to what your friends talk about most. And I don't have friends that are like in any of these little silly fights. Not for the most part. I have some. But I don't see those posts. So I don't think about that. When I see that picture, I'm thinking, what is it about our country that we don't have free speech anymore? Why does the police need a shield? Why are the police even there? Right? When people want to go march and say how they feel because they want to express themselves. Okay, look at this. Okay, I was here. This is where I'm gonna go with it. I had a good conversation the other day with a couple. How did the conversation even start? Oh, I know how. We were talking about a plant called a wandering Jew. Yes, there's a plant called a wandering Jew. And I use it all the time. I say, because I grow them, wandering Jew. It's a little purple plant, and it spreads across the ground. And I've never, ever considered the name of that plant till 2 days ago. And when I was talking to this couple, she said, wow, it's not the nicest name. I thought about it. I said, whoa, never thought about that. Because we don't think about this stuff, right? Like the football teams, the Redskins, the what is it, like Black Monday, Black Friday, how that's associated with darkness and race or whatever. And I was thinking about it, I was like, dang, Jew, we shouldn't have a plant named Jew. That's not right. And I thought about the first part of the name. And I was like, whoa, that's not cool. That's not like the wandering part. Like that is a really, really nasty name for a plant. But anyway, that's how the conversation started. We got to come up with another name for that plant. We ended up going down that discussion of, I forgot where I was going with that point, y'all. It happens. I'm getting old. But we had a discussion about race. and how we really don't think about how things are received, right? We say them and we're insensitive. We don't think about how they're received. And for as much as possible, we should be like, I don't believe in the whole PC thing. I don't believe in being politically correct. I think people should have thicker skin, but also people should be a little more sensitive in what they say because of the environments that everybody's raised in. But it was a good conversation about race. I'm not even sure what I was going to say on that, so I'm going to go back to the comments. But those names are given to tweak, and it could be like really, really racist, just like we talked about earlier with the whole white privilege, white supremacy stuff. They just come up with these racist names to get people upset. You know, why else would you name a plant that way? We got to stop letting these things trigger us. We got to stop getting behind people who get triggered that way. And we have to start thinking in terms of worldwide fathering. Pull the whole conversation back. Worldwide fathering. What kind of world is being built by your activity? Are you yelling and screaming this racial stuff? Or are you showing the little girl in that picture that you're not the monster that perhaps her parents are telling her? Are you showing her parents that you're not the monster that a group, a community, or someone else? Are you showing them on television the few that this is why you don't have fair, balanced people on TV because they're not entertaining. You don't put the guy who's talking about we all need to work together on TV. You put the guy that's screaming and yelling Black Lives Matter and the guy yelling White Lives Matter. You don't have the people who are saying no, all lives need to matter. The names of the names of the groups suck, but they're both true and they're both right. And if either group even figures out that you can make Black Lives Matter again and you can make Black Lives Matter again, if white lives and Black Lives Matter get together and realize they're being played by the names of the groups, that they can change the government, they can change the laws, you know. You don't put him on TV. When you get your chance to get on TV, don't go on yelling and screaming how you hate racism, but you hate racist people. You need to yell and scream, all races are racist, and we hate the environments that breed the poverty that turns into hate, scarcity. That's what you need to yell. You need to yell and scream, because if you solve the problem at the root, it works for everybody. If you solve the problem for one group, it just pisses off the other group. That's how you're being played against yourselves. All right, I'm way up in the comments. I'm the last couple of comments because I gotta go be a father. I gotta hang out with my boys. Oh, Sister Linda came back. So a very simple diet. Yep, and that's. I think I know what you're talking about, Linda. We were talking about off-gridding and growing food. Step one, certainly in growing food, is in growing something that you actually eat. Don't grow tomatoes if you're not going to eat them. Don't grow peppers if you're not going to eat them. You need to have a relationship with your food and actually growing it. If you make pesto, then grow basil. If you don't, then don't. But when you start growing the food, it somehow gives you a simpler diet. I think, Linda, that might be what you're saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I found that because I love food now, because I eat fresh food that I grow, my diet is simpler. I feel like I'm like my grandmother. She used to always cook with whole ingredients. You cook with a lot less ingredients because it takes longer to prepare and you got to live your life. But it's healthier because you're eating whole food, you're eating fresh food. You're building up your ability to not have the medical problems. So when you go off grid, you're actually healthy. Let me take this picture down because people are coming. I got this picture up. They'll come in and think, oh, we're talking racism. Yay! That's what I can get thousands of views if I talk racism. I don't want to talk racism. To me, I think it's stupid and it's silly. But it's actually something that will continue to exist As long as you have two extreme sides fighting and all the people in the middle who are wise enough to know that they shouldn't be, that they all got the same plight, aren't trying to bring them together. Um, so yeah, you gotta have a simple diet. You wanna go off grid, you gotta have a simple diet. You wanna be a good, strong, you wanna be a good parent, you wanna be a good father, you wanna be a good mother, a better one, start walking towards off-gridding. Start becoming strong and teaching them to be strong. Getting a simpler diet. I agree. I agree. No teaching how to be a parent. That is needed. I agree. No teaching how to be a parent. That is needed. Yeah, we need to teach. Right. We need to teach the kids in school how to be more parent. We need to spend more time with our kids. We need to have less jobs. That's why I'm against jobs. I am. I'm against them, Barb. That was that Barb. That's Sister Barb. Yeah, I'm against them. I keep saying it. I'm against jobs. You know, they say, well, what the Bible says. A man who doesn't work doesn't eat. This is true. But it doesn't say worked for big banks and big corporations that Jesus hated. Y'all remember that little part in the Bible? I don't call it the Holy Bible. I just call it the Bible. Remember that part in the Bible where Jesus turned over the tables because the bankers were there? He didn't do that. That was the only time that he showed anger. He didn't do that so all the Christians could go open bank accounts. That's not why. That is not why Jesus did that. Right? And so he didn't do, you know, when a man who doesn't work doesn't eat. You're talking about working on the farm, talking about working on the garden, talking about making chairs and furniture and doing things, I don't know, being a software developer and building automated systems that grow food so kids across the planet in the poor trailer parks, the ghettos, and houses that can have free food, you know, so their parents don't have to work as hard. Parents who have less jobs and work less hard spend more time with their kids. And parents who spend more time with their kids don't raise as many kids that fight with the police or fight and join these skinheads and the Crips and the Bloods and all these groups, right? Like that's your part to play, I think. So I'm not a job guy. I don't believe people should work. One of the things that I did do is I walked away from corporations. And I live a very modest life now. I used to make a lot of money working for the pharmaceutical industry and the chemical industry and for the government. I was an independent. I was a consultant for IT firms, and so I worked a lot on automated systems and engineering design and software development. And I think I posted something the other day. I don't think somebody got it. And I was saying that it's not you shouldn't have a job. You should not. And if you're a lawyer, if you are a landscaper, if you're whatever you do for a living, call center, whatever you do, you shouldn't actually have a job. You should be off doing the things that you love. Now, you got to do some work, growing some food or something like the Ubuntu communities. That's 3 hours a week. But the rest of that time, personally, I want you raising your children. I want you loving your children. I want you raising and loving the other kids in the neighborhood. It sounds like a pipe dream, right? It's not. I am a software developer. I'm a creationist. That's what I said. That's what I said in the post. I got in trouble. I'm a creationist. It's not a belief in creationism that the alien created everybody y'all call God. It's that I love to create software. I love to create automated systems. I love like getting up in the morning, like, man, I'm working on a system to grow food for free, an automated system. There are a couple that are already out there. I think their designs suck though, but that's just me. I do it because I love it. That's what I love to do. What do you love to do? Do you like to fish? Do you like to hunt? What is it that you love doing? And the vegans are here, they're probably upset. You know, do you love just raising the kids? You love going for walks on the park? You love growing your bonsai? That's great. I think you should do that. And you should do it really, really well. And I'll buy from you. But you know what I like to do? I like to develop systems so parents don't have to work as much. I'm a creationist. I'm an automated robotics engineering software developing person. I love to develop software. The biggest problem I have, I can't work for a corporation that's developing an automated system that's going to sell it to another corporation that's going to make profit on it. That's why I don't work for them. My intellectual capital is not for them. My intellectual capital is for you. You're my brother, you're my sister. It doesn't matter if you like me. my the thing that I love to do is to automate things. I'll do that for free. I have no problem doing that. I do that, but I'm not going to do it for a corporation for $150,000 a year. I'm not going to do that. I'll do that because something in me just will do it for free. I don't know. I love doing it. I love to garden and I love to do that. It's like automated gardening. You know, I'll still grow food, I'll still garden, but the people who don't want to garden shouldn't have to. There should be an automated system cranking out food so the parents in the trailer park that are working 3 jobs don't have to. Maybe they work no jobs. Maybe they work 1 job. Maybe they just work part-time. But they shouldn't have to buy the food because I love doing it. But we live in a crony capitalist system where I can't go and have somebody pay my mortgage and pay for my truck, you know, pay for me to have, you know, food or whatever I need. So I got to go get a job. I have to make money selling away my intellectual capital because we live in a system that won't let me survive unless I pay into this debt-based system. That's what I was saying the other day. If anyone saw the post, I'm a creationist. I just love to create things. Whatever it is you love to do, you should be doing. You love video games? I want you doing that. I don't know. You might actually become phenomenal at hand-eye coordination and pilot the drone that goes to Mars and finds the life. Because y'all know it's life on Mars. I want you to do that. Something that I don't understand gave you a love for doing that, so you should go do it. The world, our model is broken. It's not letting you go do that because it's forcing you to survive by giving banks wealth. I don't know how we got down to that. But that's my basis. And I think that's probably one of the big reasons why I do this is I want the system to change. Racism goes away when people have everything that they need. There are very few people who, yeah, I don't know. There are very few people. Maybe they don't like the color white. They don't like the color brown. They don't want to be around those type of people. That's okay. Love them too. They should have a right to live in a place where they don't have to see that if they don't want to. They can go find a little cave somewhere. I'm okay with that. That's cool. I guess I just don't get this people who have to be liked. I don't understand that. And then raise your kids. Parent, I got to bring it back to Father's Day. And then give your kids that same, let everybody else self-determine. Don't tell people what they gotta like and who they gotta like. You know, I think you should be their friend. I think you should show them why they should like you and give them a choice of whether they want to or not. I don't think because they were raised in a community and there were no purple people walking around that because they're scared of you, they don't like you. I don't think it makes them a bad person. I just think it's just the environment they grew up in. Maybe you should move to their community. Show them how nice you are. Show them that love. Like somebody posted on my page the other day. What's his name? Daryl Dixon? Nah, I always say that. His name's not Daryl Dixon. Daryl, I don't know. The black blues singer who goes to the Klan meetings. That guy. Go be him. You want to fight racism? Then go show racism that you got love in your heart. That's how you fight racism. Not by writing a book. Not by joining the Democratic Party yelling and screaming. Not by joining Black Lives Matter. You're not helping. You're making it worse. Because the people who pay for you to have a group are actually giving you the talking points that are pissing off people on the inside. Be a better parent. All right, SD Labor, good morning. Truth, it's healthy for kids to see other generations. Yeah, oh, thank you for saying that. You're right. I started talking about it. It's healthy for kids to meet your crazy uncle. It's healthy for kids to know the grandparents. It's healthy for kids to see all the generations. It's healthy for kids to disagree with their parents. Like, I don't know if my cousin was here a minute ago, Eva. I don't know if Eva, you came back. Her father-in-law, my Uncle George, he used to fight with my father all the time. Out in California, had a different mindset. It was good for me to see somebody disagree with my father. They disagreed all the time. They get in arguments. Oh my goodness. Hold on. I forget to drink my coffee. It was good to see my Uncle George and my father arguing. disagreed over everything. Uncle George, he kind of, I actually get it now. He more believed in aliens. He was more of an atheist, but he kind of believed in aliens. I guess is agnostic, something like that. And my father was the Bible thumper. And they get in arguments. It's kind of what helped form me who I am today. It was good for me to see, and my father would let that argument play out. One, it taught me that there are other views. Two, it taught me it was okay for my father to allow me to see other views and not be so indoctrinated just by him. Three, after my father and my uncle would have just dragged down, flat out arguments where you couldn't hear anybody in the room but them. He said, hey, Tom, let's go get lunch. And they'd go get lunch together. Hey, Tom, you want to go outside, go do this? They'd go do that. Hey, Tom, you know, and my father, and it's okay to disagree with people. People don't have to believe what you believe, but I saw that. And so I don't take the things personally. Like, that's why I invite discussion and debate, because it's good. It's good for me to hear other views. I invite people, my friends who are in the, I guess you call them the supremacy groups, to speak on my page. Tell us how you feel. Tell us your experience so it can be obvious. Like Sister Barb just said right there, that yeah, she was a little white kid growing up in a community, and she was treated wrong by a few black people that lived there. You know, it's important for people to hear that. It's important for people to hear that, because then you know that it's your job. Now, I know it's my job to show Sister Barb we aren't like that. It's my job to show Barb that there are psychopaths everywhere. They come in black. Racist people come in black. Black skin. Because that's just the solar energy. We all have the same brain. You know, we all turn into psychopaths when we're given those environments. And that's why it's important to see those things and not join and be tribalistic, because you're no different than the other side. If you're playing tribal games and if you love and group up with people based on how they look, you're no smarter than bacteria, but actually bacteria is a little smarter than that. But it's good for kids to see all those different perspectives. So growing up, I saw all those different perspectives. It's another thing I just appreciate about my father and my uncle and my family, just to see all those discussions and debates and arguments, but they still loved each other. You can disagree with people and still love them. You don't have to agree. So my ex is a fabulous dad. It took a minute, but I like the girlfriend he has now because my kids are truly cared for by her. It makes me so happy they're safe and content. Thank you, SD Label. Same here. I have to agree. I have to agree. You know, when I met, let me say that I have to be honest, be clear. All of my, in case my ex sees this, all of my ex's boyfriends, I hated them. They were punks. All of them. They're just punks, man. One of them I almost came to blows with. I didn't like them at all. They were suckers. They were punks. When she met, I mean, I tell you how, oh my gosh, they were punks. Her car broke down one day, and we weren't together. We were separated. We were divorced. Her car broke down, and her punk boyfriend didn't go. Well, no, it wasn't her car. It was her mother's car. My mother-in-law. I still call her my mother-in-law. She's still a mother of mine. She is still someone I look up to. She is still an elder in the family. Divorce never changes any of that stuff. And my father-in-law, who I've had various disagreements with, but I love that man. He's the grandfather of my kids. He loves my kids a lot, and he treats them really, really good. Anyway, what was I gonna say? So my mother-in-law came to town, and the car broke. Got a flat tire. You know, this punk. I'm not gonna say his name. This punk didn't know how to change a flat tire, or either wouldn't go help. So my mother-in-law called me. She called me, or I don't know if it was her or my ex-wife. I don't know. Called me and said, you know what, Mom, got a flat tire. I dropped everything I was doing, got in my truck, and I went to go change that tire because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Human being needs help. You go to help that human being. Outside of the fact they're my family, and I went to go help them. Change the flat tires. They were all punks. But when I met the new guy, won't say his name, funny, when I first met him, it was, well, when I first had time to like talk to him. I don't know if they were married yet. I don't remember. It was at one of the kids' baseball games. It was my youngest son's baseball game, and or softball at the time. I forgot which it was. We met and we started talking and sat on the bleachers. By the end of that season, I love that man. I love that man to death. I do. He is a phenomenal guy that I think of as my brother. Um, there is nothing I love more on this planet than my children. Nothing. I do all this crazy, dumb stuff I do for them because I think they deserve a better world than what we're getting. And this man who treats my ex-wife very good. And I still love her, not in a romantic way, but I love her because she's the mother of my kids. And I think when you love somebody, I don't think that love ever goes away. He treats her good. He takes care of her. He works hard. And he takes care of my kids when I'm not around, when they're not with me, because half the time they're with me and half the time they're with her and him. But anyway, I was going to say, by the end of that first day at the baseball game, I was like, man, we done talked about Star Trek and some aliens and all kind of other crazy stuff. He reminded me of my best friend back in, or one of my best friends, I got a whole bunch of them, back in Gainesville, Virginia. Don't ever let stupid things between two adults over romance separate you from people who will keep your kids safe. I sleep good at night because he's a good man. I sleep good at night because he used to be in the military. He believes in guns. I sleep good because I know my kids are safe. Gotta be, and that, to me, that's parenting. That's being a decent mother and a decent father, is making sure that the environments that your kids are in are highly safe, and they're well taken care of. Get past your ignorance. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I missed any comments from anybody else. I've got to start to run this down. It's 1 o'clock. 5-year plan. 5-year plan. Know them at least 5 years and travel with them a lot. You know, oh, okay, you will know who they really are. And that's way up in the comments. Yeah, you have to get to know people before you want to have kids with them. Please do. Please do. Please wait to get married. You don't be in a rush. Just take your time. Brother Robert said, that's my front yard. My first house plant was a Swedish ivy. Okay, yeah, we got a gardener frenzy here. Oh, Ellen said, wandering Zionist. Yeah, they need to change the name of that plant. Because once again, we're talking about the wandering Jew. Plant name that needs to change. If you were born in a Zionist family, if you were born in Israel, you would become who you're raised to be. Now, later in life, what would change your mind? Let's think about this, because I know a lot of my friends, because Israel's doing some really dumb stuff, some really horrible things, some really anti-Jewish and anti-Christian, anti-natural law. They're doing some horrible things, and a lot of people are disagreeing over this nonsense. So if you were raised in Israel to be a Zionist, you would be one. What would change your mind? What would bring you to a place where you would join the Jewish people in Israel who are protesting the extremity, and they want to live in peace with people in Palestine? What would change your mind? People yelling, screaming, wandering Jew, anti-Semitism, are they going to change your mind? Or are they going to get you to agree with your indoctrination of hating people in Gaza and Palestine? That's what they're going to do. You change the mind of people by showing them that how they think about you is wrong, right? You show them that you understand that they were raised there. You understand that there is a conflict there and that you're not against them. But you also understand that you're for human rights and you're for solving problems, that you don't hate them for their religion. That's how you change people's minds, is you show them that you're not the monster that they were raised to believe that you are. And that's how you fix people. That's how you change people. They're intellectuals. Never just, you can't ever let go of the fact that other people are intellectuals. They just don't have the data. They don't know that you're a decent person. They don't understand that they were lied to as children. That's how we fix things. So I just believe we got to fix the environments and stop fighting with the people. I'm gonna go down. Go down, go down, go down. Yeah, I'm talking about my mother-in-law. Yeah, and I'm still respectful of her. Elders come in the room, you shut up. That's how I was raised. Elders come in the room, you shut up and you listen. You know, you don't be disrespectful. That doesn't change no matter how old you are. That's why I love centurions. I talk to old people all the time. A lot of my friends are very old. That's why I disagree with a lot of people, because most of my friends, when I was in I'm gonna say my late 20s, most of my friends were over 50. And now what am I, 45, somewhere around there? Most of my friends are over 60, because they're probably supposed to be, because these people are smarter than I am. They have more experience than I do. It doesn't mean they can write software and it's smart to mean everything. It means that they have experiences that I need to know about. You know, so find yourself some old people and talk to them and make friends. It'll only make you wiser. Happy Father. Thank you. Thank you for all the wishes of Happy Father's Day. I am a happy father. I am a very happy father. I'm a happy father because I know now a lot more about this life than I knew when my kids were young. I'm a happy father because they made me a better person. My kids did. I'm a happy father because my friends on these Facebook and these tools are making me happier and smarter. I'm a happy father because I had a hero of a father. I'm a happy father because I have the feeling that human beings, that we're going to figure it out. I have a feeling that the hate's going to go away. I have a feeling that that things are changing. I have a feeling that we're not going to hand down a concrete jungle to our children. I have a feeling that people are figuring out that divide and conquer is how they destroy us on all levels, from parenting to family court system to foster care to Democrat to Republican to white, black, religions and all this nonsense. I have a feeling that I'm happy because poor people have everything in common. If you don't have $1 billion in the bank, you're a poor person. You have everything in common. And I think that's going to change everything. Yeah, okay, let me keep going. Last couple comments and I'm going to get out of here. It was a long talk, but I kind of wanted to go through that, how I got started in this and the whole activism thing. It was meeting up with a brother who I swear was in the Klan, and us coming together with the groups we were in to march to help out kids. And through that, we figured out that we shouldn't hate each other. I love gardening, reading, dancing. Only one of those fruit. Oh man, only ones of those is fruitful though. Yeah. Okay, Crystal, and you should do that for a living. Jobs can be a source to learn a trade, like school that pays you. Lots of laughter. Take the knowledge and create your own business. Yes, Carolyn. Ooh, good point. Good point. Hold on, Sister Carolyn got something. Good point. Even if you are under the mindset of get a job and learn a trade, that still is a human thing to do. That's still a wise thing we always did. The difference in what Carolyn just said is we would get the job, blacksmith, carpenter, landscaper, whatever it is, furniture maker, and we'd only do that as an apprentice for a period of time. We would learn the trade and we'd go off and start our own business. And I think that's another way of how we fix the world and we start getting power back in our country. And we maybe be able to restore a constitution, is when you have more small business owners that are running their own business, and because the business owners are more sustainable. If you work for So, there's a lot of things there, right? So the whole apprenticeship for a lifetime is a bad idea, right? So if our apprentices decided instead of starting their own blacksmith shop, they decided they're going to keep working for the banks, or that's a bad example. They're going to keep working for the engineering firms. They're going to keep working for these massive greed systems. That's how small business became medium-sized business, and medium-sized business became large business because people adopted apprenticeship like it was a living. They adopted that as a permanent employment and jobs as a permanent way of solving the scarcity problem and survival, that it's a good idea to be a labor slave, an indentured servant permanently. That's how this happened. That's how big businesses bought government and keep everybody divided and own the media, is we stopped doing what Carolyn just said, learning a trade and going it off to do it yourself. The big problem though is the greed, right? That's why you would do that. You can go open your own little engineering firm or your own little call center or whatever it is. You're not going to make a lot of money. Why do you have to have all the money on the planet? You ever ask yourself that? You ever explore that? If you want to be a millionaire, you ever ask yourself why? If you want to be a billionaire, you ever ask yourself why? How important is it to you? Is it important enough to destroy this planet? Is it important enough that knowing that what you're doing is propping up big businesses that are destroying the planet and making it worse for the next generation? Is it really worth that to you? Is it worth it to you knowing that we can't take any of this to our grave? Is it worth it? Is it worth it knowing that the value of the dollar drops every day? Is it worth it knowing the value of your job as an employee, it drops every single day as more automation comes online and more robots? I think it's our greed. It's the low level greed is more of a problem than the big level greed, because it's the low level greed that props up the big level greed. What's wrong with living within your means? Like, I'm a minimalist. I almost buy nothing. I almost buy anything. You can't see if I reverse the camera. You see my old truck. Drive an old truck. I drove some nice cars in my day, don't get me wrong. But I stopped buying them because I realized that those things are not a good idea. I realized that all the electronics and all these highly advanced cars are all made on slave labor. You know, it's like this. Like, I love contradictions. I love hypocrisy, and I love to talk about it. It's like you laugh at the dirty redneck that's driving the dirty little redneck with the mullet, driving the dirty old pickup truck that's I don't know, 20 years old. You're driving a nice Benz, got all the little lights and fixtures and electronics, does everything. You're driving a slave machine. Like, think about it like this. And let's pretend, play pretend. Let's pretend that that redneck is in the Klan. They support modern slavery less than you do. Think about that. Chew on that for a minute. You're driving this nice fancy car that's propping up the prison system, that's propping up the banks, that's propping up the wars, that's propping up the blood minerals and the coltan, that's shoving these little black kids or African kids into holes to mine their coltan. You're doing that. You're in support of modern slavery, and they're not. Not to a degree. Maybe they talk about it. I don't know. I don't know what the Klan talks about anymore. But that's the hypocrisy and the contradiction. But not only that, but let's say they're a politician and you're behind them and we're going to help the black community. Now, white people, get some white guilt and don't talk for black people. And you're getting behind them and they're in full support of slavery. The world is upside down because people are silly and we don't really think about this stuff, which I like to talk about it. I think it's important that we dig into our hypocrisy, fix the problem, because the leaders at the top, they hate all of us. Ooh, it's Emrys. Welcome to the club. Emrys said redemption through sin. Yeah, right, exactly. Like, Jesus, okay, Jesus come back. Oh, the Christians in trouble. That's why, as much as possible, I distance myself, because if you're not Christ-like, and Christ is the God that comes back first, and beats Buddha back, or one of the other ones, well, y'all in big trouble. That Christ thing told y'all not to kill people, not to murder people, not to. Uh-oh. Is that brother Johnny? Johnny's in the house. Oh, it's brother Johnny is KKK Christian and Christian. He always like to have fun. Um, but yeah, that's why I like to talk about the differences between Christ-like and Christian. Christians do not like Christ. They do not well. Okay, yeah, I always go back and forth on that one. I think the people who just go to church and they want to be good people, they get lost in the dogma. Those are people that we need to talk to, not fight with, brother Johnny. Not fight with, brother Vegan, whatever your name is now. Those are people we need to explain who Christ is to. Those are people who don't understand the natural laws that are behind atheism, Islam, and all the other spiritualities. I'm not even sure which ones are religions and which ones are spiritual anymore. But anyway, explaining to them that Christ said those things. Thou shalt not murder. What does that mean? That means nobody in the crusade has anything to do with what Christ told them. That means Christ, when he comes back, he's not going to be happy with you. Thou shalt not steal. That's for the Zionists in Israel. You're not supposed to be stealing. When that Christ thing comes back, or God comes back, because y'all don't believe in Christ, that God thing's going to be a little pissed off. Yahweh, Jehovah, he's not going to be happy with you. He's Yahweh. That wrath of God thing, y'all going to be in trouble. And you know what's going to happen? When that God thing comes back, the alien gets out the UFO. The Islam and the Muslims, the ones that y'all hate, gonna be standing right behind God, pointing at you like, "See, he did it. He didn't listen." And then your God is not your God because you're standing for Satan, gonna be coming against you. Which is why, like I said, it's a good thing. Don't make Christians your enemies. Y'all, Christians are not your enemy. Most of them are good people who are just falling into the indoctrination. It's like the Democrats and the Republicans of the left and right in your country. Most of them are good people. They're intellectual people. They just don't know you. They don't know who you are because you're not showing them who you are. You're fighting with them. You're falling into the talking points as opposed to trying to show them that the talking points are designed to keep everybody divided. Um, make awesome games that really teach math, Brenda, and that's what I think. I think that the game in the gaming industry, we talked about that for a while. The games of violence. Another good Father's Day topic in parenting is give your kids less violent games. Give them games. When I was a kid, we had a lot of learning games. We had a lot of board games. We didn't have many computer games. We had a lot of board games. Kids need that. Don't teach them to be violent for corporations and war. Teach them other things. Give them other positive things to reinforce, not just violence, picking up guns and driving tanks and shooting, because it desensitizes them to join the military. I'm not an anti-gaming person. Don't put me in that place. I'm not anti-gaming. I'm just saying that as kids, we had more exposure. And what you need your kids to be, if you don't want them to be ignorant, is to give them more exposure. Um, oh, you like me, Sister Barb? Well, thank you, Sister Barb, but I love you. I don't know why you say you like me, but I love you. You are my sister. You always be. Brother Danny's in the house. Ain't seen Brother Danny in a minute. Oh, we can compare notes. Oh, let me keep on going down. Um, I've always gravitated towards older, wiser folks. Learned a lot from them. Yes, Sandra, because I think we're supposed to. We always respected our elders, and we stopped. We got to go back to respecting our elders. Um, competition keeps price wars low. Um, comp- competition keeps price wars low to Gerard. Carolyn, I'm not sure what you're saying, but I mean, I agree with you. Competition is good, but I guess the way I put it is I think there are enough things to compete against that we don't have to compete against each other. Like I think that I still believe in competition, but we can have a different type of competition. Like we don't have to compete over greed, right? We don't have to compete over profit. Like how did we get here with these industries? Is the industries they compete to beat the other greeders out, right? The pharmaceutical industry, as an example. I don't think the companies are evil, and I don't think the CEOs are evil per se. I think the industry of competing over who can make the most money is the problem, right? Because when greed becomes a competition, whoever's better at it, they're the ones that will thrive. And so we can compete over a lot of things. We don't have to compete for money. Those corporations can compete for street credit. They can compete for existence. What if having a corporation was illegal unless you gave a certain amount of evolutionary benefit to the human race, right? Like, I think you can make corporations compete to do good things, not over money. I don't think money has to exist. I think we can raise kids who compete over who can save the environment the best, who can make the best technology that helps out the animals, who can make the best food system that grows food. I think competition is absolutely great. And I think that we have enough things to compete about. I think when we look up in the stars at nighttime and we realize that what the nearest Earth-like planet, what is it, 10 light years away, and it has seven Earth-like planets that are in the Goldilocks zone that can support Earth life. I think we have enough competition. I think that the asteroids that hit our planet and avian flu and all these things, I think we should be competing against the things that are trying to kill us, not against each other because we're different color, different religion. We work for Merck versus SmithKline Beecham versus somebody else. McDonald's versus Burger King. What if McDonald's and Burger King had their competition wasn't who could sell the most burgers, but who could sell the healthiest burger? Assuming burgers can be healthy. Like, I think so I agree. I totally agree with you, Carol. Absolutely. Not disagreeing at all. I agree. Competition is a phenomenal thing, but not for prices. I like competing for existence of the human race, right? Us competing to see who can help the human race the most, who can help the most poor kids, right? And those systems are easy. Like, you look at the Ubuntu communities, we can have those systems. We just have to get past arguing with each other. Um, That's what slavery originally was. Yes, Emmer, slavery was an apprenticeship. Slavery was gosh, I posted that video yesterday. Y'all can watch. That's what Emmer's is talking about. Is that's where it came from, and that's what it still is today. We live in a slavery-based system. There was a process. What was the steps through? Emmer's can help me. It started as, I watch so many lectures. This stuff just gets discombobulated in my head. But it started as teaching when human beings learn fear, and you can get them scared if they don't do a certain thing. You, I posted it yesterday. I can't go through it. My mind is getting discombobulated. I'm drinking a bunch of coffee. But there was a walk into forced late, oh, right. I got it. Here goes. We used to eat each other. That's how I started. Y'all know that, right? We were cannibals. We used to eat each other. But when we learned that you could capture a human being and get it to grow food or go get your food, you can get more food from it. Then when you eat it, then you didn't have to eat no funky feet. That's where slavery came from, right? You can get people, instead of eating people for energy, resources, you can enslave them and make them grow food and get food, right? Slavery. Now, as opposed to chaining people, if I say it the right way, I'll post the video. I'll post it again. I posted it yesterday. But now, if you can give people fear that they won't be able to pay their taxes, they'll live in debt, they'll consistently what I said right there stops right there, right? That they have debt, perpetual debt that never goes away. So the Rothschilds bought America, and now every American lives in perpetual debt to a point where money is debt. Every time you spend a dollar or you earn a dollar, you're actually increasing the debt of the United States. And so the more you spend, the more you make. My baby got a job working for Goldman Sachs, makes $150,000 a year. That's $150,000 in debt that your children have to pay back. Actually, it's not, because I think, how's it work out? Emirates is like $180,000 in debt because of the way the fractional reserve banking system is set up. Deep topic, you should definitely look into it. And so every dollar we spend, the more America goes in debt. The more America goes in debt, the less value the dollar has, the harder your kids will have to work. And back on the father's big topic, right? Don't give your kids debt. Don't give your kids more debt. And so we live in a modern debt-based slavery system. While, mind you, you have slaves all around the world in every single country that are true slaves, incarceration, and they got people picking cotton in America as slaves, paying them 3 cents an hour. But anyway, and indentured servitude. But you have the debt slaves, which is what we are, which is why this whole system has to come down. Because the further every day we keep the system going, every dollar you make, every new BMW you buy, all the new shirts and clothes and small electronics, you actually put America more in debt to these billionaires that own the country. It's crazy, but it's true. It's crazy, but it's true. And so now we're all like in support of slavery. So you want to be a good parent? For Father's Day, turn your back on slavery. That's a good thought. Spend less money, make less money. Listen to Sister Linda. Try to move off grid everything that you can. Um, oh, hey, Sister Cheryl. I don't think I saw in the comment special or what Cheryl saying. But how do you have a small business under a barter system outside of the tax world? I wonder if it's legal. It is, Cheryl. I would recommend you look at the Ubuntu communities. Like I was listening to Michael Tellinger actually early this morning. He was talking more about the Ubuntu communities. It's actually designed so that you have a little economy within the sick economy, but it's a non-monetary based economy. So I don't want to talk about the Ubuntu community like I know, because I have a lot of friends who are already a part of it and they can explain it a lot better than I can. They can post links. But you can go join them. They got a Facebook page. They have websites. I think there are Ubuntu communities in every state in the United States and in every country around the world where they actually live as a non-monetary. It's not even barter. The way I believe it's set up is you work something like 3 hours a week and then you just live your life. You have the food, you have a house, you have water, electricity, and everything else. So it's designed for like freedom and for people just to live. So you can have these little freedom economies within the sick economy, and eventually they'll come in those and they'll come and they'll kill everybody in those communities. But if enough people have the mindset, they won't. Right? Enough people have the mindset to off grid and live in a way that's less destructive, they won't. I mean, you don't have to do that. Like again, everybody should come up with their own ways to support this nonsense less, this banking system. Bartering is one. Barter more. You don't have to say, well, give me money. You want this cup of coffee, give me some money for it. You can say, give me some socks. You go help somebody. Like I was cutting bamboo earlier today. I can say, give me money, pay me. But no, why do that? First of all, you should help people for free anyway. And that's what I did. But instead of somebody giving you a few dollars, why don't you just say, no, next time I have some help, you come help me. That's barter right there. And that's a good thing to do. If you make shoes or you make clothes or you make jewelry or whatever, and someone likes the jewelry, say, oh, can I buy that? Say, no, you can't buy it. But girl, you got this dress and I'll give you this necklace. You give me that dress, or the dress at home, or you got that lemon plant. I want a lemon plant. You do that. Or, like bartering, like the less money gets spent, the less debt gets created, the less debt that's printed by the Fed, the less the billionaires own us, the less the fractional banking reserve system cranks, the less our kids are enslaved, the less the current people are enslaved, the less wars we start. Ellen said, I'd give it all. Ellen, I'm with you. I wish somebody gave me $1 billion. I'd give it all away. I might keep like 200,000, 300,000. I don't know. I might keep just enough to buy a little plot of land, get my solar panels and all that stuff going. But the rest of the money I'd give away. Why would I give $1 billion away? One, I have no inclination to be a billionaire. I've seen billionaires' kids. They're not good people. I've seen billionaires. They're not good people. I don't think that you can have $1 billion while people are starving. I'd give it all away. And plus, I'd want people to see me give it away. I'd want my kids to see me give it away. Because then people realize that there are still human beings on this planet. I think that's the activity of a human being, a sentient one that makes sure that it's not damaging the life of another. Gave me $1 billion. I might, just because it would make a statement, I would make sure that a large portion of the money equally. I don't know. I think about it. Maybe I'd use it. Maybe I'd take the $1 billion and I would look for the poorest whites, blacks, Hispanics, Mexicans across the board and make sure that they all have the bare minimums that they need for life. I wouldn't give them anything. Maybe the money would be better just setting up small businesses for them. So their parents have businesses and their parents are actually feeding them and housing them and raising them, as opposed to working at the dollar store and working jobs where they got to work 3 and 4 jobs to try to keep them from falling into the gaming violent mindset, the violent music, the lying sick Hollywood, the sick Disney, and that's how you fix hate, is you love it. I'd make sure that I love the impoverished community as much as possible. But I give all the money. I wouldn't keep it. I have no use for money. I don't want any of it. I have to figure out how to use it so I don't support fractional reserve banking. All right, let me go down to the last couple of comments and I'm going to get out of here. I had 4 cars at what point? I had 4 cars at one point. What the F? I was thinking. Yeah, Crystal, I think at the maximum I think I had 3 cars at once. I got rid of all of them. I now have 1 truck. Easy to replace TV with live streams. Yeah, Brenda, it is. You know why I love live streams? I love live streams because I can interact. That's why I like them. I love them because I can watch somebody. I think TV makes you dumb, number one. It's not interactive. I can't choke the commentator. They say something stupid. I can't, they say something that's not true. They put some fake news out there. Y'all see all the Facebook fake news commercials coming out. They're going to combat fake news. I hope so. I don't know how you're going to stop showing in MSM and CBS and Fox News. I don't know how you're going to stop showing their news, but I'm behind you guys. You're going to combat fake news. It's fake news thrives because people can't comment on it. You know why I can't sit here and lie to y'all? Because I have friends who will call me on it. That's why. If I sit here and lie to y'all, make up something, I say something like Obama took on the deep state, or I say Trump is taking on the deep state. You know what my friends will do? Because they love me, they will post a link that proves I'm lying, right? And that's what's important. That's why I like live streams. I like live streams because they're interactive and I learn from them, but I also learn from the other viewers and people talking back and forth and examples. And that's why I think TV is a dying thing, because it's not interactive. I meant the competition keeps the greed down. Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, it does too, Carolyn. Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Competition's boycotting everything. Yes, and we can compete to boycott. We all should compete with each other, see who can boycott the most, but don't judge each other. Everybody does what they can do. I recommend watching the Zeitgeist movement moving forward. Peter Joseph, Barb. Peter Joseph is one of the geniuses of our day. He is one of the geniuses of I can't agree with you more. Everybody needs to watch and listen to Peter Joseph. He's one of the people who's talking a paradigm shift that works for everybody. But if you still want to keep your little ignorant sides fighting, then I guess stay in your tribalism. But I don't think we have a choice. I think we're going to end up in a Zeitgeist movement type setup no matter what happens. I think we get to do it by choice, or we get to do it by a collapse. I think choice makes a lot more sense. Crack the whip. Yes, Alan, that's what that is. It's just a whip cracking. City of London bankers owns America. City of London bankers owns everybody. Slavery was an apprenticeship program. You went to a man who was a goat herder. We applied to work for him 7 years. Whatever, we help him increase his goat's population, his profit. We get a cut of it after 7 years, and then we took the goats we earned to start our own our own estate. Right, slavery simply was for people without a land or an estate. Ooh, yeah, y'all listen to Brother Emrys. Y'all listen to Emrys. Right? So what he's talking about is apprenticeship, right? Like, that's it. Because they got people to love slavery, and that's why people live in the cities. Yeah, like it or not, it's a slave mentality. But if you don't own land, you're a slave to something. Like Linda was saying earlier, it all fits together. If you're not empowered with your own land and you can't take care of yourself, you're a slave to whatever they want. And that's why you have an extreme left, an extreme progressives, an extreme right, an extreme conservatives who don't care anything what Christ said. Because people are dependent, they're slaves. That's the whole point. If you can force someone to continue to work for you, even though they know that it causes the war and murder and enslavement of other people, they'll keep doing it. They'll keep doing it because they're scared. They're scared that they want to survive. Completely spot on. Thank you for that. Apprenticeship always was slavery. And they've normalized it and they teach the kids it's a good idea. I think it's a bad idea. I think we should stop. Keep going down. Happy Father's Day. Thank you, Cindy. Appreciate it. Vegan said that's why they hate me. Vegan, that's not why they hate you. Brother Johnny, stop lying. They hate you because every time you come, wait, I don't think people hate you. I think people know who you are now. Then every time I go live or post something and they see you around, you're going to say, Christians, Christians. That's why. That's why. You know what? Y'all keep working on Vegan. We're going to get him out of his tribalism soon. I installed solar panels on my truck. Well, that's good. You should. We should have solar panels on everything. Y'all should take your money out the bank, invest it in something, invest it in green energy. Great idea. So yes, I love the side convo with friends, Brenda said, which is another important thing. Y'all need to be making friends, right? You see people posting on live streams, things that you agree with or you disagree with. If it sounds positive or respectful, make friends with them. Even if you disagree with them, like all of my friends, y'all should be friends with each other. One day I'm not gonna be on here. One day they're gonna send a paddy wagon, I don't know, put me in prison, shoot me, give me some cancer, something like that. I don't know. You know, we don't wake up, but I'm okay with that. I don't care. I'm here to do something. I have a job to do. And I know it's gonna hit some of y'all's religious trigger. But when I committed my life to Christ, I didn't commit my life to Christians. I didn't commit my life to a book, a Holy Bible. I didn't commit my life to dogma. I committed my life to doing what Christ did. Christ loved the atheists. Christ loved gay people. Christ loved Muslims. Christ did not like the bankers. Christ loved Jewish people. Christ loved all of them. And that's what I committed my life to. I committed my life to loving Brother Johnny. Brother Johnny trolls the hell out of me. Christian, 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 Christian. But I love the guy. I understand what he's saying. I know that the people who destroyed this world, they wore crosses. You know, they stole the name of Christ and they did the greatest evils that ever. So the hatred that the Brother Vegan has, it's well earned. Even every now and then y'all see Lisa appear. Lisa got some of that too. Lisa is not happy with the Christians either. It's well earned. And I'm not going to lie and say that it's not. It is. And so what is my job? The same thing, instead of fighting with Brother Vegan about it, fighting with Lisa about it, it's my job to show them that that's not Christ-like. Right? It's my job to show them that most conservatives are good people. They're a little bit off the rails. It took me 45 years to realize the Holy Bible wasn't holy. You hear what I said? That the Holy Bible isn't holy. It took me 45 years to realize that it's a book and that they played Christ and they stole the things that whatever it was, taught, and they're using it to murder people and steal what they have. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't read the book. It's not holy. It's just, it's not God-breathed. There are 8,000 different versions, all of which were modified by kings and priests, a lot of which who were psychopaths. Do you think that they modified it for your benefit? Just think about that for a little bit. I think that Christ said very simple things. Brother Johnny, you missed this one. And I said this, I don't think you were on this live stream. I think that the thing that these people miss, our brothers and sisters who are Christians, conservatives, and they're falling in with that, is the 10 Commandments. Right? This is why, if you're religious or not, you need to understand, read the 10 Commandments. It's all you need to know. live out, and I guarantee you, this is why I have a lot of atheist friends. A lot of my atheist friends, they live out most of those commandments very well because they're natural law. A lot of them are natural law. Don't murder people, don't steal from people, don't cover their wives. Basic stuff, very basic stuff. If you are told to do something that is outside of those 10, it's not a Christian thing to do. It's not a Christ-like thing to do. It means that you're serving Satan. It means that you're serving psychopathic narratives, you know. And so it's a very simple thing. Father's Day. Like, think about it like this. Here's another way to put it. As a father or a mother, do you give your kids complex rules? Or when you leave the house, do you say, clean your room, sweep the kitchen floor, don't fight with your brother? You keep it very simple, stupid. You give them commandments. You don't give them complex, divisive, discernible different scriptures that can be taken multiple ways that contradict the Ten Commandments. You don't do that. You don't say, well, clean your room if the sock is not on the floor and there's a towel hanging on your bed and you got some food, and you don't say anything confusing. As a father, you're very clear. Oh, my father's clear as that. So how crystal clear my father was? Oh, he had a leather belt. He was crystal clear. My grandmother was crystal clear too. She had a switch. I don't know what switches are. Y'all are too young. She had a switch. Old country thing. Getting a switch was the whippy thing that comes off of the tree, the new growth, and whipping you with it. That was a switch. They spoke very clear. So but and it's scary, but you do need people who hate the Bible. Y'all need to stop hating it. You need to stop hating Christians. You need to understand that people are indoctrinated and they're trained to believe certain things. If you can show them the conflicting parts in the Bible and how it's interpreted with the Ten Commandments, that's why we were given those commandments, so that you wouldn't be confused later, because God knew that men were going to create religion. God knew that to control you so they can make a lot of money. And that's why banks love religion. Because they know they can make you do things. They know that they can make you cheer as they murder people and piss Christ off. Think about that. That's why I don't fight with Brother Johnny. I know where Brother Johnny's coming from. Yeah, brother, you're vegan. You're not taking me down that road today. We're not doing no gender nothing. Pull me into that mess. Competition eliminates monopolies. Yes, Emrys, which is why I think if we stick with this money thing, our first step has to be, I was an ant on me. You got to get rid of you have to bring more competition back of small businesses. We've got to stop working for big businesses. You got to stop buying what they have. We need to hurt big business. That's the only way we move forward with competition that can actually break down those monopolies. There should be no monopolies. Somehow we have to find out. I know you probably already know the laws and stuff behind why the government no longer breaks apart monopolies. You can't have any monopolies. Every industry, I think we need to change the definition of monopoly. Monopoly just isn't one corporation that runs a whole industry. Monopoly is an industry that has less than 10,000 equal competing partners in the industry. That's what I think. I think if you take every industry and you go back to having 10,000 different pharmaceutical companies, you know what happened? The synthetic drugs that are killing people will go away because people will stop taking them. They'll have 10,000 other options for headache medicine. They'll end up with the holistic one where they have no side effects. They'll end up with the ones that's not flipping their DNA. But when you have 15 big pharmaceutical companies, it's easy for them all to agree, we're just going to sell drugs and it doesn't really matter what they do to people. As long as it doesn't kill 98% of the people, then we're okay. Then our profit margins are still good. So absolutely, totally agree. Competition is definitely required. My stance is always, I don't believe sentient species need money, and I don't think they need governments. But there probably are stopgap solutions in getting there. I think that we can flip a switch and go there tomorrow, but most people don't believe that. So how do we get there? How do we start walking in that direction? is probably competition is definitely it. And so breaking up these big corporations. It was why none of your politicians say it. None of your leaders talk about it. They'll never talk about breaking up monopolies because the monopolies are what keeps their party in power. When you get a politician that's actually talking about breaking up the monopolies, that actually does it, then you know that you have a non-psychopath, a person who actually knows what's wrong with the world, is not going to continue breaking it. Thank you, Ellen. No, Jesus did not write the Bible. Jesus brought spirituality. Men wrote the Bible. And I wasn't there. I don't know how well they could. You know, my eyes are bad. My eyes are bad. If a UFO came down right now, shoot, I might think it was a horse. I'm not sure that Abraham had good eyes. I don't know. You know, I'm not. I think there are a lot of good things in there, but there are a lot of very conflicting things in there that can be taken the wrong way. So I still read it. I think it's important. I think there's stories. I just think when you call it holy and in the God breathed word, that you can confuse a lot of people into doing some really, really bad things. And I don't think I know that that's happening right now. Um, Ellen's talking about faith. You and I need to do a live cast on esoteric knowledge in the Bible sometimes. Absolutely, Brother Emmer, send me a message. I'm looking for people to talk. Anybody wants to come on, let me know. I love talking to people. The more people, because I know a lot of people don't want to hit that live button because they're like, I don't want to go on there. Or you don't have enough people that are I guess on your friends list. I got a lot of people on my friends list. I got a lot of people who like to interact, and so you want to come on and talk about something, send me a message. You can come on. We can definitely talk. But I got some rules. I got some rules. Everybody's got their rules. And yeah, people cuss. I don't know that that's one of my rules. I prefer that you don't cuss if possible. But you know, I'm not. People are raised that way. I'm not gonna let my indoctrination dominate anybody else's. It's gotta be, you know, it has to be a topic that's educating people, right? I don't want to do a live stream talking about a divisive topic. I want to talk about like unifying topics. I want to talk about like getting to the heart of truth, true things. As long as it's truthful, anybody. And Emrys, most of what you post is spot on. I don't have any questions. So, but anybody else, like you want to get on and fight and talk about how the right's better than the left. All right. Talking about how people should be progressives and fight the conservative. You know, talking about how we should be supporting Zionists who are actually shooting children out of the military industrial complex. Like, I don't want arguments. I'm not an arguer. I'm not an arguer and I'm not a debater. I like to make my points. I like to read your points and I like to walk away from conversations if we don't agree and think about them. I want you to have time to think about it. So everybody, anybody who wants to talk about something, you can definitely come on and talk about something. Um, just think about what you're presenting. Maybe ask yourself, is it gonna cause more problems than fix them? Who is that? Y'all need to stop with my grammar. I don't have great grammar. Leave me alone. That's why I'm a computer scientist. I don't do grammar, but I have enough of the grammar police. They come after me. Every day they come after me. Um, we're living the Third Testament now. Oh, brother, you can educate me on some things. I used to be a youth pastor. I used to lead Bible study. I used to do all that stuff, but I don't anymore. So you can tell me something. I don't. Shoot, I don't know anything about the Bible. Um, Let me see. Miracles everywhere. Spending time with them later. He says he's going to spend time with them later. Yeah, I'm about to get off of here, Grace and Jeff. Time is it? Yeah, I'm about to call my crew up and go get them. They hanging out with mommy, which was another funny thing. I mean, the relationship we had. Once we realized the family court systems were playing us against each other and they're destroying families all over this country, pretending it's in the best interest of the country, the best interest of children. When I had a protest, when I used to organize protests or I had a speech or something I had to give, she'd watch the kids. I'm telling you, it's the crazy. They were free range kids. I'd say, hey, I gotta march or protest or whatever. I wanted to bring her on so she could talk on a speech once. And I think she was going to do it. I forgot what happened. So, you want to be an ally of anyone who means well for your children or their future children, all children. I don't ever want to be so angry and hateful at somebody. I wish people well. Just because they don't want to be with you, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. We were a bad mix. We just got married together. We were too young. We were too young. She grew one way, I grew another way, but we became great friends. You know, find people that love your children and get more of those people in your kids' lives. That's what you need. Love your kids, you'll bring a lot of people in and you'll support those people. But you know, okay, my rules. I don't really have rules, Emrys. To me, I really don't have rules. I want people to learn and be a positive engagement. That's all. I don't really. I guess I don't have. I never did a live stream with anyone I didn't like. I don't think it ever ended up bad. You know, like but there are people who want to fight. I've only turned down an interview once, and the only reason I turned the guy down because it was obvious he wanted to be ignorant. I have no interest in giving a platform to ignorance. I know that you are not that person. You are not even anything like the person, but he wanted to fight because I think he wanted to fight about me not being a progressive, right? He wanted to fight about, well, you're not a real progressive. I said, no, I'm not. You're right. I'm not. I never said I was. I think there's certain issues we need to be conservative on, and there are other issues we need to be progressive on to move society forward into a better place for the kids. And so I'm not in any extreme, but he wanted to fight and yell about why Peter Joseph is wrong in the Zeitgeist movement. And it was just, you know, he started cussing and everything. I was like, all right, man, you just want to fight. You want to debate. I have no interest in that. I don't think that you have to force. I think, Emrys, you said this actually. If it's a good law, well, you might have said it a different way. If it's a good law, you don't have to make it a law. You said something to that effect. And I loved it. I forgot how you said it. I think I quoted you and I posted it. Y'all make a quote that I love. I'm going to quote you on it. If it's a good law, you don't have to force it. Anything that's good, people will embrace. You know, you don't have to advertise anything that's good. Real food doesn't need an advertisement. You'll eat it, you'll know it's good, and word of mouth alone, it'll spread. People embrace what's good. You don't need to force anything by laws and sending men with guns into neighborhoods. If you need to send a man with a gun into a neighborhood or a woman with a gun and a badge into a neighborhood, it's a bad law. People don't want to do it. That alone tells you, you know, you shouldn't be. We are way too concerned with what other people do with their genitals. We are way too concerned with what other people smoke and put in their peace pipe. We are way too concerned with what people grow in their gardens. We are way too concerned with how other people are raising their children. We need to be concerned with our own genitals. Look down. Focus on that. You know, be concerned with your own garden. Be concerned with your own. If you want to have your pharmaceutical, medical drugs in your cabinet, then do that. Don't come down on somebody growing cannabis or whatever. It's not your business. Stay on your side. Stop being concerned with what other people do. Leave other people alone. And so I think, Emrys, you had said that. You know, and it was a powerful, deep statement, and it's true. If it's good, you don't have to force it. If you have to force it, it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist. So I'm an anti-law person. I think that we need to delete laws left and right, front, center, backwards, forward. We need to get rid of all of that crap. We need to have minimum laws. We need to have super Bill of Rights and Constitution. We need to force parents to go back to like being adults and solving their own problems. We need politicians to not answer the phone when you call. You know, we need politicians who will hang up on you. Say, I'm not going to solve your problems. You don't like the fence your neighbor put up. You need to talk to your neighbor. Click, hang up. You don't go write a law for something stupid. If it's a good idea, people embrace it. If you don't want to live in that community, move. You don't like the sound of chickens and roosters in the morning, then you need to move. You know, but the idea that you own something, you own the land, you own the air, you own audibles, and you don't want to hear that in the morning, that's ridiculous and it's ignorant. There are no indigenous people anywhere. We stole the land from everybody. Everybody stole the land. That's why Brother Johnny, the Christians all over the world. The Christians were just better at it. And they weren't even Christians. They were There were people who took crosses and pretended they knew Christ. They don't. They were murderously bloody, satanic crusaders. They had nothing to do with Christ. But they stole the land from somebody else. And the Egyptians, King Nate, was Nahum, what his name? The first Egyptian king, he went and murdered a bunch of Egyptians. He was dark skinned. I don't know if he was black, but he murdered a bunch of people. The Huns did it too. So it's a psychopath thing. We need to be hating on psychopathic environments, not the psychopaths and not who they say they actually are. That's all I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Gerard, rule number 1: don't take the phone with you to the bathroom while lunch. Brother Robert. Oh, Robert, I did that, Brother Robert. I did that. Well, I didn't live share. I'm smarter than that one. But I didn't do that. You know what I did? I was, all right, so I'll be honest with y'all. It's my bathroom. I know y'all knew it was my bathroom anyway. Bird made a nest in my bathroom. I was in there this morning, and I figured, I thought I was on a theory, and I posted an update on the bird, because if y'all weren't following, I left the screen off of the window of my bathroom, and the bird flew in. Decided to make a nest, and I think it's one of these invasive birds too. I think it might be like a European finch or something. Somebody told me once, I think it's a finch or some European. One of y'all birds from Europe, y'all sent over here to destroy our environment. And they're particularly brazen birds, right? These little birds like this big, little birds. And I sit here and I watch them chasing my hawk around. I have a hawk that lives above my house. They chase the hawk, because I think the hawk comes for their nests, and like you'll get 3, 4 of them together like a gang. They're like Democrats and Republicans. They're like little, anyway. And they start chasing them around. I'm like, they're chasing the hawk, these little pissant birds. But they're particularly, I think someone told me once they evolved this, they're just really, really not violent, but smart. And they know how to team up together against the bigger birds or something like that. They're evolving a level of intelligence, and so they're a very invasive bird because they're very brazen. And so obviously they're brazen because they're in my bathroom. So they flew in the window, and they made a nest in my linen closet. And so I got a bird nest in there. And I was noticing, I'd walk in the morning. I'll end on this. I was walking in, and I kept hearing this fluttering sound. I was just like, that's just weird. Why is there always a bird outside that window? Like, because I kept hearing this, sound of a bird flying around. And sometimes I saw him in front of the window. Well, what it was doing, it was flying. When I walk in, like it hears you jiggle the bathroom door, and it flies out as soon as it hears you come in. And so I figured that's what happened this morning, Brother Robert. It's like, oh, the bird is gone. People don't believe me. They probably think I'm lying. They probably don't think there's a bird in this other guy's bathroom. I'm gonna take a picture of it. So Brother Robert, I stood up, I put my camera in, I said, I could use a flash. Because I looked in there the other day, I saw an egg. There's an egg in there. One egg. It's blue, I think it is. I turned the flash on, and I put it up, and I stood up, and I was standing on something, and I put it, because it's way up on the top of the linen closet, and I put the phone almost, I was thinking like 3 feet from the nest, and I hit the button to take a picture. The flash cut on. The mother bird said, oh, hell no. This little 4-inch, 3-inch pterodactyl, because that's what it was. Pterodactyl scared the hell out of me. When I tell y'all I have no fear, I don't. But I can be startled. Robert, oh my goodness. That phone almost went in the toilet. Listen, birds out here, like, birds will fly by me all the time and stuff. They don't scare me, don't bother me, not at all. You get this brother in a little small bathroom, and you get a bird that flies at my face, and all I see is, oh my God, fell down, threw the phone in the air, fell down, hurt my back, started running. Man, I got it. It was a pterodactyl. That thing must have been a pterodactyl. It was not a little, is that a sparrow, a finch? It was not no little 3-inch bird. This was a monster. It was a grizzly bear with some wings that was trying to eat me. I ran the hell out that bathroom. I don't know, but you know what? As dumb as that makes me sound, it is stupid. Animals, that's why I love looking at nature. They evolved, and they know how to scare the hell out. You ever see an eagle chase a bear? They do it. They scare the hell out of the bear. They startle you. They know that. Now, mind you, after I calmed down, my heart stopped after about 5 minutes. I realized this little bird with these little wings scared the hell out of me. I go back in there tough. But they evolved to know how to scare these stupid hominids on two legs. And they do it. So that was my bird story this morning. So I'm gonna let it stay in the bathroom. You know, like I said earlier, who moved my cheese? Before we got here, this was all swampland. This was all before we heard the motorcycle. Before we built these houses, nature was here. And as opposed to being somebody who would just take the nest and throw it out, I'm not gonna do that. Bird was here before I was. Birds are dinosaurs. They were here a long time ago. Bird didn't ask me to put my bathroom here. The bird can ask, who moved my trees? I moved his trees. So he couldn't make a nest in the trees, make a nest in my bathroom. The only thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna call animal control and I'm gonna ask them, first I gotta find out what kind of bird it is. I'm gonna ask them, you know, I guess one, maybe if they can remove it, if that will startle the nest, or are they just going to take it and throw it out? Are they going to take care of it? You know, if the bird falls out the nest, will it get hurt? Stuff like that. Because I think that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be stewards of the planet. We're supposed to take care of the planet. We're supposed to support life everywhere we can. So I don't know what to do with it. I'll take a picture so y'all know what kind of bird it is and see what they think. But I want the baby bird to make it. That's another thing that the Bible says, that we're supposed to be stewards of the planet, not stewards of our race, not stewards of our religion, not stewards of our political party or our community. We're supposed to be stewards of the planet, stewards of the atheist kids, stewards of the Muslim kids, stewards of the kids everywhere. Not pick a side, stand up for the right things. Anyway, Brother Robert. I almost lost my phone this morning. I almost ended up in that toilet. Don't make me go grab my phone out the toilet. I will. I've done it before. It's the nastiest thing on the planet. But I don't want to keep buying these phones. Anyway, listen, happy Father's Day to you guys. Spend my day hanging out with my kids. Think about some of the things my father taught me. He definitely was my hero. He was my hero. Miss that guy every day. Every single day. But you know, there's a relationship I have with him now that I didn't have with him when he was alive. Like, he's around all the time. Feel him all the time. If you lost your father, same thing. I just think we go back to some energy, something. That's why I don't claim that I know it all in terms of spirituality, what we become and where we come from. But I know this life isn't it. I know that there's so much more to this life than what we know. And I don't know if we come back as different creatures or spirits or whatever, but there's so much more, so much more. So hopefully you guys have a good Father's Day. Hopefully you have a good Mother's Day. Know that your father, wherever they are, they're still watching. And if you had a bad father, understand that, you know what? He was probably raised that way. He probably had genes flipped or something that just, you know. And if anything, that should motivate you to want to fix the environments that bad fathers grow up in. Hadn't talked to your father in a while, you're fighting with him, give him a call. Be the bigger man, be the bigger woman. Y'all have a good day. Make sure you love each other. Love is all we got. It's the only thing we do good as human beings is loving each other.